on the twatter, as they say.
Twatter.
Boom, boom, boom. Hello, everybody. This is Preston Poulter, and I am joined by a bunch of friends here. We got our writers group is growing. Maybe it's just because of the quarantine. Who knows what's going on? But here we are. We got Vicky.
Hello.
Who has had a very active day. We got Mech McCheese who debated Dark Gift recently. So,
he's a good guy.
That was also funny, exciting.
God, that was painful to watch.
Did you watch it, Vicky?
A bit of it, yeah.
Good times. Nothing but good things to say about the experience.
It
Thanks to everyone who watched it.
It ain't nothing but a good time.
Yeah.
It was.
So this is like the first official Comic Skates comic submission stream, or is that just me?
Actually, you know what? It's interesting you should say that. All right, so hold the truth hostage contacted me a couple of days ago, and he has some ideas for where he wants the Comicsgate trademark to go. So I mean, for me, here's what I see. So Critias has retained an attorney, and he has challenged me for the trademark. He let his application. All right, so he got approved for I intend to put this trademark into use, but then he didn't, so he let it lapse. But he then hold on, let me so he basically filed the paperwork to kind of renew the application, and so now we are in conflict.
I thought he was broke.
Yeah, exactly. I thought he was broke too. But I mean, it's fine because ultimately it comes down to production and performance. And I'm going to produce a book. White Lily 5 is going to go up on Kickstarter on Friday. It's going to be a 1-week campaign because I'm only doing 100 covers, and those should sell out pretty fast. And then I'm going to turn it around real quick. So I'm going to be shipping a book like 3 weeks from now or so. And it's going to have the Comicsgate logo on it. In fact, hold on. I can show you. I posted it to Twitter, but I haven't posted.
How long has Critias had the trademark or the copyright?
He got it back in 2018, I want to say.
Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah.
So he had 2 years to do something with it and did nothing.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's not like he's going anywhere special, but
which is typical. That's pretty typical for old.
So there is the logo that shall be on the cover of White Lily 5. Isn't it beautiful?
Okay, I see it now.
I like it.
The pocket jacks. I was assuming pocket jacks.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
I assumed that the jacks referred to jacks, like the little metal jacks. You bounce the ball and then you pick up the jacks.
No,
but no.
Yeah. No, it's. I was a poker player for 3 years. The whole story thing came out of the whole poker thing. I actually started doing writing while I was a poker player, and I don't,
like taking money from all those moms.
Taking money from moms. Yeah. So yeah, the Pocket Jacks was.
Weren't you doing Magic the Gathering before that too?
I did Magic the Gathering for a while. Yeah,
I've seen that video.
I did a bunch of stuff, but yeah. So my book's going to ship in 3 weeks, and Detective Dead is never going to ship. So
Detective Dead career dead,
exactly.
Dead on arrival.
So the trademark office is going to go with me because I am using the trademark, and he is not, and that situation's not sustainable. So
we've got a wild zombie in the chat.
We do. Oh,
yeah.
I don't know if I can add him. Can I add him? No, I cannot add him because that would be 6, and StreamYards will only allow me to do 6. But tell you what, Zombie, hang out with us. So I want hold the truth hostage here to give us his ideas, and then I'll let you go, and then I'll let Zombie come in. All right.
All right.
So Zombie, go. Yeah, I didn't expect tonight's stream would be so, but it's quarantine, but everybody's here. But is he exactly all that matters is that I'm fulfilling on time. Okay. Well, all right. Fair enough. I will do, I should probably. I do sometimes think like I would probably have more time in the day if I just if I said goodbye to Twitter, but I'd love it. I find I'd love it. Like but all right.
It
So
fulfilled
all
you.
right. So hold the truth hostage. Your name is
Moby.
Moby. Oh, that's right. Okay. So tell us what ideas you've got.
Sure. Well, to me, what I think he could do with the certificate is kind of like remember the code of comics, the comic authority.
The Comic Code Authority.
Oh, what he could do is you form a council. You form a council with the people that, follow the laws of conduct. You're not doxing people. You're not, with what Preston been on. You're not stalking people. You're not doing anything illegal. And what you could do with this council is now you go through a review process. You can review books, and you're putting a certificate on both new and old books.
Right.
And then you can create something where people can submit their books for review for the certificate. There'd be some type of fee involved. And then, to me, the biggest thing he could do is that the word Comicsgate, there hasn't been a bigger word in comics since Image Comics, precursor to this. So
I don't know. Patriarchal Ape has done a lot of Google Trends things about like the word Comicsgate as opposed to other things. But it's in one specific segment, it certainly is very passionate about the term, and that isn't just people who are currently Ethan fans. That includes people who, were hopped up on it like a couple of years ago.
And I definitely was supporting the idea of Comicsgate when I first heard of it back in 2018. And it's like, hey, this is something that comics needs. Comics needs a Comicsgate, even if it shouldn't be called Comicsgate. We'll call it whatever you want.
Right. But no, I like the idea of being the gatekeeper of it. This is the comics gate, but at the same time, like I was just gatekeeping on, it's like easy peasy stuff. Like don't dox your freaking customers, don't engage in online libel, fulfill within 6 months of your estimated delivery date. Now the idea of reviewing the content of the book and using it as like a seal of approval. That's going a bit far. What would you evaluate the book on?
Well, you would look at the story, and there's a lack of a certain agenda. If someone's book isn't putting a middle finger to you because you're religious, this and that, there's certain things where you could read a book and tell, that book is attacking people versus telling a story. And then, like you said, with the author behind it, once you put that seal, because right now, what my man said, partial. Ape, is that you need something to let people know the quality. The biggest problem the American comic sector has is there's no certificate of trust. Comic Vine, a lot of sites that used to be non-agenda filled, they're all been poisoned. If you do a comic where Captain America's saving Trump, they want to burn it down, but that's Captain America saving our president, whether you like him or not. You don't have any trustworthy certificates or, free thinking, left or right. Is the book good? And is that person writing the book normal enough? It's not insane or, because to me, I think what Preston brought up and why they're attacking him versus the previous guy who applied for it is that they know they're going to hold a certain standard, and that's what they don't want. Because to me, the biggest failure of Comicsgate is that, to me, they all used it. They made some cash here and there, but there's no one really. Let's unify. Let's put out and hold ourselves to a certain standard. So when we put out our books, the customer can trust it. And instead, I look at it as the Ethans and all the people on the negative side. Let's kick out the SJWs and all this stuff so we can replace them. We're the gatekeepers now, whether we're right or wrong.
Well, I could see kind of rating it. Zombie's got automatic no-fault refunds for customers based on fair trade. Yeah, so I could see some of that. I could see like rating it for content, like going like, okay, like giving like age guidelines or maybe caution, like trigger warnings, like like this book, basically depicts the Prophet Muhammad and suggests that Islam is a religion that is unfair to women. And if you don't like that, this is not the book for you. But I don't know that I want to look at get involved in looking at the content too much and saying, well, this book just shouldn't be published.
It can be like a stamp of approval, basically. Just it can either be a rating. We already have like ratings for TV, and I don't know how many people pay attention to ratings for TV and video games, but those are usually very simple, just like a few letters.
Right.
You could do that for comics.
Yeah.
Right. Well, also, you could just make it kind of like the Comics Code Authority. That's not, I don't know if I want to make that comparison, but at the same time, you could just make it that simple, just a stamp. And you could actually put it on comics after they've been released if you're part of the new Comicsgate movement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like for satire books, you should definitely put those labels on there because it's like, satire is going to piss people off for sure because people are going to like misread shit,
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So, yeah. All right. Well, how about this? Would you be available for, say, $25? People could submit their comic scripts to you and you could come back and you could kind of do a review. You could come on my channel, do a review and give kind of a rating system and as well as outline whatever trigger warnings, like, if you were a sexual assault victim, this comic might not be for you kind of thing.
Well, to me, I don't say we go that literal. I'm just saying because you own a brand now, you don't want, when you give that certificate, you're potentially, liable where it could damage the brand. But if you have it to where, for example, I don't know if any of y'all know Comic Vine. If you could set up some type of database where people go, okay, where's the Comicsgate certified list? And you're looking at certain books, it's been certified, that's been certified, so I can read it. It's quality, it's gonna come out. This creator for fundraising, he's been certified so far. He delivers and stuff like that. And to me, like I told you on email, you have certain people could pay the council to review their stuff. That way, that certificate has standards and somebody, just like you did the trademark, it shows, he put his money where his mouth is.
Right.
So, he's not going to scam or rob us,
Okay. I mean, I tell you what, I'm going with Zombie's idea, and we both have, somewhat of a business and entertainment background, but, fewer hurdles as possible and fewer costs as possible, particularly for new creators. But, I think it's on them to certify the content and kind of to give us a summary and an age range, as well as, whatever content warnings. But if they want kind of additional reviews and recommendations, I could definitely see, people. Because I was looking at like Comic Tropes and looking at his Patreon, and Comic Tropes has, he runs a cool channel, but he has a Patreon for $100. For $100 you submit your comic to him and he'll give you a review, not on his channel. He'll just tell you what he thinks of it. So that apparently, no, you can come on my channel on Wednesdays and do this shit for free. But
I was just gonna say that.
Comic Tropes.
Yeah, Comic Tropes.
But now we're full. We actually did that on our channel, SWC, but I think it was $20, and we usually, well, it was on Tumblr, and we usually do a post, but it was usually a certain length. But anyway, on Comicsgate, I do think the brand has been damaged. The brand needs to recover. And this could be a way to help show that Comicsgate has changed.
Right.
Yeah, you just need to wipe the shit stain off the name. So
yeah, exactly. So I don't want like the bureaucracy and the council and that's starting to sound like Ethan all over again. So I'm a little cold on the idea, but I like your enthusiasm and I want you to keep thinking in another kind of in this direction. But right now, I don't think this idea as presented is...
Well, if we did have like a list of authors potentially wanting to submit their comics to Comicsgate, and then we could see, they've never finished any products, or they do a lot of backbiting, or they've engaged in doxing, they were part of war campaign.
Properly vetting people.
Yeah, vetting, doing some vetting.
One thing I wanted to mention though was
should we mention, because my computer is bricked, I was wondering if we should plug. I just wanted to say that we should plug our fucking Patreon. Yeah, should we plug
Go
our
ahead. Go ahead.
SW, or it was
Go ahead and
Patreon.
plug your Patreon. So
patreon.com/smuglaley.
yeah.
We need money. We need money. We have to buy a new computer for my brother because his just got fried.
Yeah. So go ahead and plug that. And Moby, go ahead. You have a YouTube channel if you want to plug that. So go ahead and get a couple plugs here.
Don't worry about me. That I got relaunched. Right. I'm in the process. To me, YouTube, man, I'm up and down on it.
Fair enough. Okay.
YouTube's kind of evil.
Yeah. but I gotta say, I like your enthusiasm. I think your heart's in the right place. But the idea, I don't think that it's gonna add overall to the process. I think we should really just put more weight on the creator to provide their own content warnings and their own content summaries. And just more investigate the creator, like, is this person going to deliver? Does this person engage in libel, kind of thing? But that's where I'm thinking right now.
It's kind of like music. It's kind of like what I did with music. I ended up having to dump it because it's like, oh, you have to go find the good music. You can't just listen to the radio.
Exactly.
It's not that easy anymore.
But all right. So but thanks for coming in. I'm going to bring in Zombie now. But it was good talking to you.
Oh, of course, man. It's an honor, man.
Nice meeting you, Moby.
All right.
Thank you, man.
See you, buddy.
All right.
So he didn't have any scripts
Hello.
to read then?
Pardon?
He didn't have any scripts to read?
Well, I brought him in mainly because he wrote up a proposal for the Comicsgate thing. And
yeah, this is a big new change to Comicsgate. Comicsgate is officially alive for the first time.
Yeah, exactly. Alive. It has a logo. We're gonna publish a book, White Lily 5. We've already certified. We've already agreed to certify Robotoad Rec Manlet. So it's
that name just kills me, man.
The name with the logo is going to be awesome, and I will show. Again, for the audience, here, let me pull up my certification mark, because that's different than.
I'm hearing a little bit of echo from, I think, Zombie. I'm not sure.
I think Zombie. Yeah,
he came in, and I've been hearing some echo.
Yeah, a little bit.
My brother also wants me to plug the PayPal.
Go for it.
SWCmod1, the number 1 @gmail.com.
Sounds good.
All right. So if you want to, people who want to keep us broadcasting, which apparently is like the whole human race, so many people flooding into our Discord constantly.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this. Somebody needs to look at this. Somebody needs to do something. And they always mean us.
Yeah, it is.
And now, my brother's computer's down because, it probably because of Windows. Basically, Windows. Windows is a terrible operating system that we have to rely on.
I'm sorry, but yeah. So there's the Comicsgate certification mark, which will go on JDA's book.
She looks more like Monica Rial almost.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Yeah. Initially, it was pretty much spot on, Renfamous, but Renfamous was like, I don't want my face. So all right. So
wait, you actually conferred with Renfamous and asked her if she wanted, if she was going to give her permission for her likeness. Wow.
Exactly.
Because normally other people who were formerly part of Comicsgate wouldn't even do that.
Hey, Zombie, we have officially added you. You don't need to type messages anymore. If you could just clear up your video and audio.
Yeah, I'm seeing like the top.
The chat so that there's a permanent record.
Oh, okay, fair enough. All right.
Yeah,
for people who are reading along.
I was thinking about going into the chat.
Oh.
All right, so we have some pages tonight. I'm gonna start with the pages AK has. So let's pull these up here real quick. Share.
Quick disclaimer: I added like 2 alternate pages to page 1 and 2 because I wasn't sure which one I was gonna go with. So,
okay, so which one are you gonna go with?
Well, that's why I came here. I was gonna ask you which one was better to go with.
I don't know. I didn't write it. You wrote it.
I know. Like I was just thinking, like after you guys hear it, which one do you think is the well? We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is like my first time.
Okay.
Sorry.
Crumbs is the title of your book.
Yeah, yeah, like breadcrumbs.
I'm probably gonna have to read a bunch here for narration. I'm gonna go grab a glass of water. You guys, tell us about the story. I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. So, well, it's. I was trying to go off like My Hero Academia, that little
Mhm.
like that theme of like this guy, but I kind of reversed it, you know. So it's like My Hero Academia is a world where it's like all mutants and shit, but this is like the opposite. It's like very few people have powers or whatever, and the kid doesn't really want his power because it just causes him grief.
Hmm.
So, well, if I say anything more, I would kind of spoil the main shit But yeah,
So it's a cape story.
yeah, something like that. Like I wanted this to go out for like if anyone backs it, they can show it to their kid and they can enjoy it as well. You know.
Cool.
So Comicsgate.
Ooh.
Oh,
Whoa.
okay, that's zombie. I'm pretty sure that or
I think that's zombie.
yep.
Yes.
I'm
Now,
so angry.
is it okay now?
He's speaking into his boomerang. Hang on.
If you mute the microphone, then this doesn't become a problem.
Is it all right now?
A little better.
Okay, yeah. Although you sound like you're at the end of a hallway.
Well, I'm still going through tax return tear sheets while I'm on the stream. So I'm using a boom mic with a dead rabbit on it, which is just next to the desk. So can you hear me though? Obviously you can hear me.
Yeah. I can basically understand you.
Well, that's true of any Australian talking to an American.
Just separated by a common language.
Yes, exactly.
So are you still sequestered on your own private island or whatever it was you were doing?
I was on my own private island of Mupe Eleke, and then they came and got me to help in a finance subcommittee because of what's going on, which is all I can say.
So you went to the island because of the coronavirus, and now you're leaving.
I bugged out, and they came and got me. They sent a group who they call the Dive Club, which is federal officers of different sorts who operate in the islands, to find me, and then they literally opened up a fairly old laptop on the beach, and the person who ran the finance subcommittees on the laptop saying, sorry to interrupt your time away, but you're one of the qualified people we can use because of your background, so can you please come back? And I said, well, I don't really need the money, so how urgent is it? And then they pulled the traditional, your country needs you kind of dealio. And then they also pulled the document you signed is binding for life. So
It's basically Mission Impossible. It's the start of most Mission Impossible movies.
wouldn't know, don't watch them. It's more like the start of every CPA high-level audit and scandal in KPMG, but yeah, okay, whichever. It's more like KPMG than Mission Impossible, as far as I understand Mission Impossible. But there's just a lot of foreigners with a lot of incorrect tax returns, which is normally not a priority, but because of the things that have been happening, those foreigners have now been prioritised for review. And I'm one of the most senior people for doing tax specialised finance due diligence. So
the government needs the money.
Well, it's not so much they do, but it's also to interdict the money for the people who would be receiving it overseas, because they kind of owe us a lot of money for what's been happening, and they have no intention of paying their fair share, which would add insult to injury. And I don't know if it's been in the news over there, but they've been cutting up rough. They interrupted a press conference by our government a day or so ago, which is not a good look. So yeah, can't really say anymore. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Yeah. Welcome back.
Your dreams were your ticket out. Again, the way you describe it, actually, it sounds like it was an episode in the first season of Jack Ryan where he's like just at some fancy dinner party or something, and then a seaplane or it was like a Coast Guard helicopter lands right in front of the party. And it's like, you, Jack Ryan, come with us. And it's like, I thought you just worked at the State Department. What is this? His date is totally confused. It's crazy. So,
other than all of the theatrical trappings, that is how they reach you urgently on the islands, because there is no other way to reach you on the islands. So
they launch a canister from a helicopter. It has the sunglasses in it. You put on the sunglasses, and that gives you your briefing.
I want a private island.
It's not quite that well set up. But, I mean, private islands neither here nor there. They're not particularly expensive. So.
Cool. I'm back. Is AK-47 still here?
Yeah, I'm still here.
All right. Cool. Yeah. All right. So Crumbs. What we're gonna do is we're gonna read through 10 pages. I need you to assign roles for us to read. So who do you want to be the narrator?
How about you, Preston?
No problem. How many characters do we have? I'm looking through. I see a bully. I see.
Well, the bully can be interchanged. He's not that important. So.
All right. Patriarchal Ape, you can be the bully. Vicky, I have a boy's grandma. That sounds like you.
I can do grandma.
And then
that apparently is my new nickname.
There you go. And then I also have a boy, Mecha McCheese. You are boy.
Yay! I'm a real boy now.
And then what else do we got? Do we got anything?
There's a doctor and
we need a doctor. Zombie, you are doctor.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's one more, which is a superhero. His name's Olympus. So.
Mecha McCheese, you are Vicky. Vicky is our superhero. There we go.
And grandma.
Superhero and grandma.
All right.
All right.
That's awesome.
All right. So, do we need any more preamble for the audience about what this is, or we're just gonna open cold?
We can open cold, and people who know My Hero Academia, they'll be able to tell what I was doing with this right away.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. We love you. You know. All right. Fair enough. Page 1A, 2 panels. Panel 1, a hand pushes a boy wearing a backpack from behind. The boy falls face first towards us. The brown paper bag that he was holding is now hovering in the air, a sandwich flying out of it, and the bullies can be seen laughing at him atop the suitcase.
Staircase.
Whatever. Suitcase, staircase. Whatever. It's some kind of case. All right. Page 1B, 3 panels. So this is a variation on page 1. I got it. A hand is seen grabbing the head of a boy and pulling it out of his neck.
Mm-hmm.
And pulling it out of his neck, with the boy having a surprised look on his face. A hand pushes the boy wearing a backpack from behind. Panel 3, the boy's body falls face first towards us, and his head is thrown like a ball as well. The brown paper bag that he was holding is now hovering in the air, and a sandwich flying out of it, and the bullies can be seen laughing behind him atop the staircase. Page 2A1 panel. The boy is on the ground. The sandwich is completely separated next to him, and his entire body is broken into pieces like an action figure that has had all the joints disconnected.
Am I just too fragile for this broken world?
Page 2B, 2 panels. Panel 1, the boy is on the ground. The sandwich is completely separated next to him, and his entire body is broken. Pardon?
Looks like that part got repeated.
Yes.
It's an alternate version of.
Just let me read the freaking script. Anyway, like an action figure that has had all its joints disconnected. Go ahead, boy.
Am I just too fragile and broken for this world?
Panel 2, close up on the head being disconnected from his body. Page 3, 9 panel. Wow, 9 panels. Okay.
Yeah, I did that a bit too much.
All right. Panel 1. The bully's shoe is seen taking its first step towards the staircase. Panel 2. The boy's disconnected left arm with only 2 fingers begin to reach for the scrambled sandwich. Panel 3. The bully's shoe arrives at the bottom of the staircase. Bully?
Oh man, this is just too pathetic. Can't you even help yourself?
Panel 4. The boy has a dreadful look in his face. Panel 5. The bully steps on the sandwich ingredients and squashes it. Panel 6. The bully looks at the bottom of the shoe. It's filled with cheese and vegetables.
I might have to wash my shoes after this. Looks like I got shit stains on it.
Panel 7. The bully suddenly starts scraping it on the face of the boy. He spins it for the boy's head around like a soccer ball with his foot.
Or I could just paste that on a bigger piece of shit here.
Panel 8. Tears roll down the boy's face.
Should I do bully 2? I guess I could do this too.
Yeah, do him too, yeah.
Hey, let's go before someone comes. We've had our fun with them.
The boy looks up towards the mess of what's left of his sandwich, his cheeks filled with cheese and vegetable. Page 4, 5 panels. Panel 1, the hand with 2 fingers attached to it reaches out to touch a piece of breadcrumb.
Can you help me reach that loaf of bread up there, honey? My back's acting up today again.
Panel 2, the boy's in the kitchen, still in his pajamas, looking for the breakfast. He's nodding at his grandma's request. Panel 3, he disconnects his left arm from his body and holds it in his right hand. He disconnects his left arm from his body, holds it in his right hand, and uses the extra limb to try and reach the loaf of bread on top of the shelf.
That's my boy. I can always count on you to help me when I need it.
Panel 4, the boy is smiling as he hands the loaf of bread to his grandmother. Panel 5, the boy's grandma is busy making him a sandwich. Grandma.
Gotta scroll quicker. Go get ready now. You don't want to be late for school.
Page 5, 5 panels. Panel 1, the boy leaves the room. Panel 2, the boy enters the room dressed up. Panel 3, his grandma hands him the sandwich. Panel 4, he reaches out to grab the sandwich. Panel 5, we are back at panel 1 of page 4, the boy's 2 fingers grabbing a piece of breadcrumb.
I never knew my parents. Grandma was the only person in the world who cared about me.
Page 6, 6 panels. A woman's hand is seen hanging besides a gurney. Boy.
My mother died in labor.
Panel 2, the silhouette of a man walking out a door. Boy.
No one knows where my father is. He disappeared years ago, right after the news broke that my mother was pregnant. Grandma doesn't speak about him either.
Panel 3, the boy's grandma is handed the baby. Panel 4, the boy's grandma smiles with tears streaming down her face. Panel 5, the boy's grandma pulls him closer for a hug. The boy's grandma has a horrified look on her face. And panel 6, page 7, 9 panels. Panel 1, the boy's arms and legs are disconnected from the body. The baby cries.
It seems the first time my grandmother ever tried to give me a small hug was the first time I was shattered, I was told.
Panel 2, the boy is now around 4 years old. He's sitting in a doctor's clinic. His grandmother is next to him.
So what exactly can you tell us about him, doctor?
Panel 3, the doctor places an x-ray on the boy's disconnected joints onto the light board. He points it in comparison to a diagram he has on his wall.
It took a while to start because we weren't sure what exactly we were dealing with. But as you can see here, the joints in his body are not connected by any muscle tissue when they disconnect.
Panel 4, the doctor switches the x-ray scan to ones where they are connected.
As you can see here, previously, when his joints were disconnected, there were no tendons. But once connected, they manifest and function like a normal human's body would. To be honest, even we still have no idea what's going on with your grandson, since he is the only case that we know of.
Panel 5, the boy's grandma holds onto the boy's hand.
So there's nothing wrong?
Well, it doesn't seem to be life-threatening. He can separate by using a tiny bit of force and still live. You mentioned that he can pop off his head too, right?
The boy pulls out his own head.
Fascinating. To be honest with you, we can't determine anything else about him unless we do a thorough investigation into how his body functions and why he is able to remain alive with his limbs and organs separated. We can only begin to do that once we take him apart, so to speak.
Panel 7, the boy pops his head back into place, a horrified look on his face at the words, "Take him apart." Panel 8, the boy's grandma hugs him and reassures him.
It's okay. There won't be any need to do any of that. He's fine, just the way he is.
Panel 9. His arm pops off from being squeezed too hard. Page 8. 6 panels. Panel 1. Newspaper clippings and online articles that are printed out and lay on a desk.
The story of a boy who could detach his limbs at will became a hot topic for a bit. There were a lot of letters sent to our house by eager scientists and doctors to be the first to crack the mystery to why I was born this way.
Panel 2. A muscular man picks up the newspaper clippings that showed the boy's face. Behind him is a suit.
They classified my case as a meta-human case, which attracted the attention of a lot of fanatics around the subject. To tell you the truth, I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Panel 3. The boy is sitting on a bench in the park reading a comic titled Glorious Hope. The iconic hero of the book looks like he came out of Gold and Silver Age era.
There were only 2 places that I could look to for guidance. The first was the comics that Grandma would buy for me, and the other was...
Panel 4. The shadow of a muscular man hovers over the boy.
What a rare sight. That's a classic Glorious Hope issue, isn't it?
Panel 5. The boy looks up over his head to see the hero.
The very real superheroes of this world.
Panel 6. The boy's eyes widen as he realizes his idol, the hero known as Olympus, was right behind him. Page 9. 6 panels. Olympus sits down next to a boy and leans in to point to the pages.
Oh, yes. This is the issue where he has his showdown with his arch nemesis, Mercy Kill, right?
Yes, it is. Are you really Olympus?
Panel 2. Olympus gets up to flex and pose.
But of course I am. Who else would I be if not the #1 hero?
But even if superheroes like Olympics did exist, it doesn't necessarily mean that the world at large would have readily accepted people like him. Very little is known about him, except that he is also classified as a meta-human, and that despite the good he's done for the world, people tend to look at the meta-humans as a sort of an outcast, much like the audience of the comics reading population. But you don't have bad guys to catch?
Panel 3. Olympus walks forward and puts his hand on the boy's head. Panel 4. He pulls out a newspaper, clipping with the boy's face, a newspaper clipping with the boy's face on it.
Actually, young boy, I specifically came to talk to you today.
Panel 5. Olympus sits back down.
I'm sure you're well aware that people like you are rare. You have a gift no one else does. When I first read about you in the papers, I was quite excited at the prospects myself.
But I can't do anything. I break very easily.
That's not true, which is why I came here today to ask you if you will allow me to teach you and if you'll become my sidekick.
Panel 5. The boy's eyes lighten up. Page 10. 9 panels. Panel 1. Olympus smiles.
You too can someday become a hero.
Panel 2. The boy looks down at his comic, a little down. Panel 3. Tears drop onto the comic book.
What is it? Did I say something wrong?
Panel 4. The boy wipes his eyes.
The encounter and the invitation was a shock for me. It was almost too good to be true. But
Panel 5. The boy looks up to Olympus.
I don't actually want to become a hero.
Panel 6. Olympus is a bit taken aback.
Then what is it you want to do?
Panel 7. The boy stands up from the bench and stands face to face with Olympus.
Is it possible for me to live a normal life with the ability I have?
Panel 8. Olympus face palms himself and laughs. Panel 9. Olympus smiles and holds the boy's hand.
So that's what you're all about. Of course you can. What was I thinking? Forget the hero business. You can become a fine young man.
All right. There we go. 10 pages.
Yep.
Like zombies mic is still it's picking up the ambient sound.
Yeah, it's picking up the audio from the speakers, so there's a bit of feedback going on.
And he was a bit loud too, so I think he just needs to turn the microphone down a little.
Yeah. I think just turn down your intake volume and you'll probably be better off.
Just let me swap microphones, in fact, and hopefully that will fix everything.
Okay, there we go. Cool. All right. Who wants to... Oh, no, that's bad. That's bad.
That's worse. It's so much worse.
Yeah, that's bad. Whatever that was, don't do that.
What about this?
Yeah. That's great right there.
When you were talking normally, no, it's not fixed.
Nope, no, it's not.
The problem is that you're not using headphones, so we can hear ourselves through your microphone.
Right. Well, I can soon take care of that.
Awesome. Okay. All right. So while he's taking care of that,
No longer participate.
Can you mute your microphone first before you're?
How about that?
yeah, that's okay.
Excellent.
All right. Cool.
Okay.
All right. Who wants to start with positives?
I will start with positives.
All right. Zombie, go ahead.
It was clear and linear.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
All right. Moving on. Patriarchal ape.
Was that it?
Yeah,
I leave a long pause, and if he doesn't say more, then that's it.
Okay, because what I was going to
Zombie,
say
did you
is,
have anything else to add?
No.
No. See,
All right.
I know these things. Go ahead.
Okay. Well,
I know these things.
I was going to say, I like this, juxtaposition of it's sort of subtle body horror with humor, the way that it's treated, like his body parts constantly just pop off on accident.
Yeah.
It's almost horrifying, but at the same time humorous.
Yeah, that's what I was going for.
Yeah, I like that part too.
And
It's like he's an action figure, so.
yeah, or one of those ball jointed dolls, I think they call them.
Yeah,
The TMNT toys were like that.
Yeah. The GI Joe is also a bit, except for the rubber. There's a rubber band in the middle, but no, there was something else. Basically, the very real, down to earth take of this character. He's not starting off by foiling a robbery or anything like that. It's very, very human, like My Hero Academia. It's from the perspective of a hero that, or rather, a character you would not expect to be the perfect Adonis. That's one thing that I remember when we were reviewing a bunch of new comic books around the dawn of the OG failed Comicsgate. Is a bunch of those comics were just such generic cape trash. And it was like, nobody's going to, and my brother is the one who says this the most frequently, this is not going to peel anyone away from My Hero Academia or Berserk or anything like that. Those are those old comics. What people really want nowadays is something that is real. At least that's what I feel.
Well, thank you.
So,
Mecha McCheese. Oh no, did you have more?
No, I guess I don't know. There's some other stuff I was thinking of during the reading, but that's basically the gist.
Okay, Mecha McCheese.
Yes. So I like the power set. That was cool. My favorite thing in superhero anything is when a character has one superpower that they use in a lot of ways. So having somebody that could like take their arm off and do whatever.
Oh yeah, that was I thought that was creative. Actually, he takes one arm off, uses it to get the other, and to get a cereal box off of a tall shelf. I thought that was creative.
It's also very horrifying. So that's pretty good for an original power. Or I don't know, maybe there's another character out there with something similar, but it's cool.
1960s Captain Marvel from Charles.
Yeah, Zombie mentioned that. I actually didn't know about that character, and I actually conceived of this idea when I was in film school, but then someone pointed that out to me back then too. So
it's not like it matters. Gee whiz. It's just, but it's, I mean, if you're some sort of comic book nerd, you'd probably pick up on it, but it was a very unsuccessful character, and it wasn't done this way at all. So
wait, which Captain Marvel? Because there's two Captain Marvels. There's the Captain Marvel from Marvel, and then there's the DC Captain Marvel. 3 Captain Marvels, because there's also the Charlton Captain Marvel from the 60s, the mod pop hero who yells split and splits into pieces.
Yeah, there's also a character in One Piece that does that, but I don't really care about One Piece, so yeah.
Nope, not even a little bit. Thank you.
but yeah, I didn't even know about this other third Captain Marvel.
And it doesn't really matter. It's just striking because it's an odd power. So obviously, if you're familiar with one of the other 3 characters who've ever had that power outside of fairy tales, then
actually,
of course you're going to sort of go.
It seemed almost referential to another character from MHA who was like, I don't know, he has these weird sticky balls that grow all over his body. It's not.
Oh, Mineta?
Yeah, is that it? Is that the guy's name?
Yeah, his hero's name's Grape Juice. So.
Yeah, Grape. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Grape Juice.
And it's a really weird, non-traditional power, especially for main. He's not a main character in MHA, but
Yeah.
he's a pretty good character in that. And yeah, his power doesn't seem like something you'd want for a main character normally.
Yeah. He's a pervert, and well, it's kind of funny because he's played up for comedic relief. So
No, it's really straightforward and pretty simple, man. So I'm interested.
Yeah. I mean, it's setting forth the universe. It typically my note is I don't see the conflict, but I think you have established the conflict. We have a gifted boy in a world where that exists, and there is the responsibilities that come along with that versus the desire to just be normal.
yeah.
So we have the conflict that I'm assuming that the rest of the story is going to develop that conflict, and it won't be like we suddenly go off in some other direction. But I could be wrong. I don't know.
Well, no, you're right. You're right.
Okay, yeah. So that's kind of what I'm reading in it. So we have a world, we have an interesting character, and we have a conflict. So pretty good stuff.
And a really sweet grandma.
Yeah.
Speaking of sweet grandmas, did Vicky say anything yet?
No, Vicky, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. You guys all kind of said what I was thinking.
Fair enough. Okay.
So think harder.
we all said it, then you thought it.
You're just saying that now.
Exactly.
Hey.
So who wants to do constructives?
Me.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I guess the first thing is that it starts off right away with bullying, which I think is probably I don't know if it was because of the Captain Marvel or rather Shazam movie. At that point, when I saw it in the trailer, it's like, okay, enough of bullying. We get it. We get it. Bullying hurts people's feelings a lot. Okay, enough of the bullying.
No. Like I didn't even watch Captain Marvel the movie, so neither of them. So.
Well, yeah, no. Well, yeah. Shazam was a better movie. I also didn't see the Marvel one. That's like the first Marvel movie of the big new MCU that I just still to this day have not seen.
Yeah.
And that one seems to be even more annoying than just bullying. I'd rather see 2 hours of bullying than Miss Marvel, little Missy Marvel.
I want to second Master Walt. I really like your voice, Vicky. It's nice. So.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
This is the guy who was complaining about our performances. He came to a writer's stream and complained about our acting. You came here thinking we were going to be doing an acting class. I got bad news for you. But other than that, I also noticed you misspelled sandwich every single time. Sandwich was constantly misspelled.
I know, because it's like
I admire dedication in misspelling it every single time.
Consistently.
You can't buy that kind of consistency.
So I was just trying to get it out really fast, and I wasn't really worried about spelling. So
yeah, that's why it's not even a legitimate criticism. Because normally, especially for this, I want to write something. I want to get the facts on the page down as fast as possible. So I just bang it out, and I save typos and stuff for later drafts. Probably for never. It's like you know what I'm trying to get across here.
Yeah.
So I don't need to spell it, and that's what we do. We read it pretty much perfectly. We didn't need help with that. But other than that, also, because you were saying when you were describing it, it was going to be like a mirror reverse of the usual world of superheroes where they're actually rare. That didn't come across in that. In this, and usually I dump that. I try and dump information about the world in the first or second page, in a bunch of narration. I might be wrong for doing that, but if there's something really unique to the world like that, I try and get that across as soon as possible.
Yeah, I was trying to do that later because I wanted to how do I say this? I wanted to establish it a bit later because that has the superhero thing doesn't really factor into this world because the reason why I mentioned My Hero Academia because it's at the end of the first episode the kid basically says to All Might if he can become a hero, right? But I'm trying to reverse that because I'm just fuck being a hero, let's see what this kid can do. Just be a man first before you try to be a hero, you know what I'm trying to say? Because he doesn't have a role model. and he doesn't want to get involved in the hero business. So
now, hold on. I want to just to be time efficient. I want
Yeah.
to go through everybody's constructives, and then we'll come back to you for comment.
okay.
All right.
Okay.
Patriarch. What else you got?
No, that I
Okay.
guess. Well, yeah, and just I don't know the comparison. I actually did like the comparison. You know, the which is in MHA also. Again, the the expected main character, the big hulking Adonis. What was it? Apollo. What was his name?
Olympus.
Olympus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Olympus. You know, versus this this dweeby kid. That's good. But yeah, yeah. In the first 10 pages, we didn't get to see much of where that was going. Except that he's very understanding of the kid not wanting to become a hero. There's a lot of reasons somebody wouldn't want to become a superhero and put their life at risk.
Mhm.
So I understand that. There's nothing really else I had for constructives.
Okay. Vicky, constructives.
There are a lot of panels.
There were a lot of panels, and yeah, let me show because this was also a note I wanted to talk about. But here, let's go ahead. There's a dogfight erupting below my chair. All right. So, all right. So, page 6, panel 1. A woman's hand is seen besides a gurney. Boy, my mom died in labor. Panel 2. The silhouette of a man walking out a door. No one knows for my father. Panel 3. The boy's grandma has handled the baby. Panel 4. The boy's grandma smiles with tears streaming down her face. Panel 5. The boy's grandma pulls him closer for a hug. So, like, that's a lot of panels. For instance, just here on panels 3, 4, and 5. Is a grandma happy to have a baby and hugging him? That could be one panel. Grandma with baby hugging with tears, right?
Yeah.
I feel like you're kind of approaching this from a filmmaking perspective. So you're like, so you're like calling out the shots, but comics is not about that. Comics is about kind of the conveying of the emotion more in, I think, big images. It's like big iconic images, like big splash pages that convey a certain emotion are really what sets the tone and the tempo, in my opinion. Certainly more than I think a lot of like small panels. Now, like a lot of small panels are really great for showing like an intricate action or an intricate series of interconnected actions. But I mean, here, you could just have a bigger panel of the boy's grandma with the tears, holding the baby. And the larger the artwork, the more visual impact it's going to have, the more it's going to be kind of remembered.
Yeah, something like this would be affecting the pace, actually. When you split it up in a bunch of little panels, it's like it's expected for the reader to kind of zip through those at a fast pace. But if you want it to be like kind of a big event, it would be a big single panel.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I would have thought with comics, you've got a format that film can't match in one way because it's static images. And this guy's power is that he can shatter. So why not have a shattered double page with all of these little panels all across the double page, and people can spend many minutes looking at it and catching up. And then you've got 2 pages of exposition and he's all broken up because he's literally all broken up.
Right. Yeah, I was thinking something similar to that too.
Hold on. Okay,
that would actually be a really good idea. That would be a cool artistic trick.
Well, I mean, it's a comic book.
Yeah.
You can't do that with a film.
So
sorry, my bad.
All right, Vicky. So we went over some of the. I think using a few too many panels. And then did you have any other constructives, Vicky?
No.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right, Zombie. You were saying.
Well, just that really. He's got a very unusual power, and this My Hero Academia thing. Not everybody is familiar with it. I'm not. I couldn't care less about it. I've vaguely heard of it, and it cuts no ice with me when somebody's trying to get something original done and says it's exactly like this other thing, because basically I'll just go and read the other thing, and I may not even like the other thing. So I can engage. I can engage with this based on it being school bullying. He's got a really peculiar power, and he doesn't seem to be the central, most important superhero in a world full of different superheroes, which I always like. I get very tired of magic girls and magic boys where they're the Harry Potter or the, Daisy Ridley of their universe. Sometimes it's nice to see a non-front and center person who actually never does end up becoming the central protagonist.
That's why Wolverine is so popular. Wolverine's like one of the most popular comic book characters ever. And yeah, it's his superpower is just that he has a metal skeleton and claws and he can regenerate. That's one of the things when they took his character and they ruined it when they made him just straight up immortal. And it's like, no, don't do that. But
yeah, because before he was just, I wouldn't say a bystander because it's hard for any superhero to be a bystander, but certainly not. You're the most important person in the whole universe. The secret of everything was within you all along. No, you're just a weird guy who can dismember himself and live.
The true spirit of Christmas is in your heart. But yeah, My Hero Academia, I would actually, that's the thing is I'm not even in love with that, and I'm not a huge anime fan, but I do recommend people try and go and find that because it's Japanese doing American style superheroes in a big superhero academy, but it's more it's got more genuine love for the whole concept and better characters than so many other American comic books are even doing. You know,
yeah, never. Recent. I absolutely refuse to ever read it, and I will drink paint before I do. Now, this one, right. I think if this kid, he's lost his father, he's got daddy issues, he's got issues here, issues there, issues everywhere. I would personally really drop a piece of glass on the ground, see how many pieces it's smashed up into, and have a double splash page with that many panels, and have his life, he's picking up the pieces of his life, and be that literally symbolic with this character, which you can get away with because he's a child or a teen, and therefore you're allowed to have angst and wangst in your story.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
But yeah, and that's also, that's how you get multiple panels, multiple small panels. You can make that work by making it like little shattered panels.
Fewer and fewer panels, becoming more and more traditionally superheroic as he steps up, not to become the central figure like Harry Potter, but simply to integrate himself. You see? And that way, the confusion of the initial story, which a totally fresh reader may have, you can actually acknowledge, you see? And that's something a film, doesn't matter how sophisticated digital film compositing becomes, it will never be possible for an audiovisual medium to match an illustrated medium. This is where Alan Moore was correct, where he was saying the absolute regularity of the panels in The Watchmen, an absolute deliberate choice, Silver Age panel composition, let them just have a metronome tick, 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 tick. And this one would be more of a smash as he's born. And then he has to literally pick up his life, the pieces of his life. And then you have people withholding pieces from him. Does the grandmother know more about the father than she lets on? Da, 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 da. And you can play with it then. You can have the x-rays that the doctor is putting together be like window panes in the school, be like this, be like that, be like the other.
That's one of the things, that comic books, Tim Lim was talking about this when he was making, I think when he was making Common America, or no, it was when he was making Black Ops 2. He was talking about, like, what is one of the things that you can do in a comic book you cannot do in any other medium, in movies, TV, or any of that. And what he did is he made like the halfway point of Black Ops 2, you reverse it, and then it's a new story that you have to start from the other side again. And it's like, that's kind of that's a really unique, interesting twist.
If there's a single biggest failing, I think, in the current crop of independent comic makers, the more recent ones, that none of them are writers in. They are all children of television, internet, and movies. And they are constantly trying to Frankenstein surgically change comics into what are basically storyboards for unproduced films, rather than have the comic book as a document, as a physical art form of its own. Do you see what I mean? It's like trying to put a rap into an opera. It's not going to ever work. It doesn't matter how clever a gimmick may be. The two media are absolutely different. So the comic book has things it can do. I mean, for example, this character, the first thing that struck me when I realized he's one of these split apart guys, you could do so many things with the panels. You could have full bleed panels that are all askew, as though you started off with a traditional 6-panel or 9-panel page, and that the panels actually got blown by the wind or scattered by a bump, so that the panels are partially not on the actual page that's printed. So that you could do all of these and then have another thing behind it or something. You could do all of these different things.
That's one of the things that I had to learn. I think it was when I first submitted my script. I got the idea for, like, because they were suggesting, you need to bookend this story. I think it was Mecca McCheese who mentioned that, bookend the story, the very first page, and then, with some story elements. And I realized, between the gutters, I could just maybe shrink down the panels a bit and actually, put something in the background, put another image in the background.
Now you're thinking.
But that's the thing is, if you're going to be writing for comics, especially, you kind of have to have an artistic mindset. You just don't need the ability to draw.
I don't know what's going on here, but
you should know something about how to draw.
Yeah, I studied animation for like 2 years, so I kind of have an idea.
All right, yeah, but now I guess you probably have to study comic book composition.
Yeah, that's the next one.
I'm really bad at that myself.
Let me jump in here. Page 4, panel 3.
Yeah.
Disconnects his left arm from his body, holds it in his right hand, and uses the extra limb to try and reach the load of bread on the top of the shelf. If you tried to draw that, I think you would behoove yourself to split that into at least one more panel. And this is only a 5-panel page, so I think you could do that. But asking him to like disconnect and then reach up, that's like a lot of motion. So take it easy on your artist.
All right, gotcha.
Especially in that panel, because you got to think, like, if you were drawing this, you couldn't draw all that in one panel.
Yeah, this is another. It's another example where more panels work, because you're showing this sense of motion.
Yeah, and it's got to be like
starting off with the hand at the top. You could have the hand holding the loaf at the top, and then an off-center panel with the arm, and then another off-center panel below that with the hand holding the arm, so that the other arm. You see what I mean? So his whole elongated body.
That'd actually be pretty cool. That would be funny.
Would be cool.
In fact, if you just show that, just the first panel is just the arm grabbing the bread, and it's like, oh, he got the bread, and then the next panel is him holding his own arm that is holding the bread, and it's like, oh, he detached his arm to do that. That looks pretty cool then.
Grabbing bread is mundane, but what you're really doing there is showing what his power is capable of.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind too, because no one gives a shit about some dumb kid
picking up bread. Now you've made picking up bread awesome.
And you're going to be paying an artist like $100 for this page.
That's
get
right.
something really interesting in there for your money.
Yeah, exactly.
Crack the whip on your artist.
Yeah.
It's like Reed Richards' Mr. Fantastic when he's drawn properly, like in the Silver Age, by an artist who actually cares. There's a dynamic motion to all the elasticity. So that sells why it's interesting to be what amounts to a shapeshifter, as opposed to all the lazy Reed Richards drawing, especially the last couple of decades, where they just draw him with a long neck and long arms, and you sort of think, wow, that's quite an unimpressive power right there. Mr. Ordinary rather than Mr. Fantastic. So
yeah, and then you start, making the stranger jokes and things like that, and you want to avoid that as much as you can.
That's right. Whereas there's body horror, so you may as well use it.
Yeah, horrify us.
Gotcha.
And especially if he's matter of fact himself about it now. If he is, he may not be.
I did want to actually ask. So he at the end of this 10 pages, he says he doesn't want to become a superhero. So how does that change? Is this whole thing going to be like slice of life? He goes to work at a coffee shop for the next 6 issues, and then that's the end.
No. Like, the thing is, he doesn't want to be a hero because, like, Olympus, he's doing a hero but trying to make it a legitimate business. But this kid becomes a hero indirectly by not really putting on a costume. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
It's like the whole thing. It's like, as the story goes on, there's a hypocrisy with people wanting to be heroes. Like, it's like being an actor. They're just chasing it for fame and all this stuff, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, they want the attention. And kind of like in MHA, he wants to be a hero because he actually cares about people.
Yeah.
He wants to help people, and he's more reluctant to get started with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And don't talk about My Hero so much. It's coming off as fan fiction almost.
That's me. That's probably me doing that. I'm doing that more than he is.
Yeah.
and this My Hero Academia, I mean, God bless it. Sounds great. I'm sure it's wonderful, like all Japanese stuff is.
It's really not
the point
great.
The point is, there isn't a fucking thing I've heard about it that is the slightest bit original from 1964. Never
my
mind
question about this story is, I mean, when those bullies go to pick on that kid, who doesn't seem to have a name, or if it does, I don't remember it. It seems like he's a boy.
I didn't come up with names for anyone yet.
Okay, all right. Well, when the bullies go to pick on the boy, did they know he was superpowered like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I almost feel like a better thing would be to run by and snag his arm, but also. All right, like they can literally do got your arm.
Or got my leg here, Preston.
Did they know his specific power, or just that he was superpowered because he goes to the same school as them?
Yeah, that's the latter. So
right. In which case, you absolutely need an establishing line of some kind where they're upperclassmen hazing him to see if he's like an alpha or just some shit kicker Joker type power where it's like his power is so sort of pathetic. You see what I mean? Like hitting him hard enough so a normal human would be killed, but they know nobody at that school would be killed. But if your power's crummy, you may be humiliated. Like if your power's turning to water when struck by an object, then obviously you'll just splash everywhere and they'll go, "You're pathetic." Whereas if you take the hit solidly, then you can join War Campaign and be one of the cool kids.
Exactly. As long as you don't mind those a few gay hijinks.
Oh, really? Godzilla. Is that what we're going to play? Because I've got a devil dinosaur. Really, dog? You want to throw down? Okay. Okay, I can do that. I got a buddy Jesus too. In fact.
Okay. I think that's there. We go.
No fighting.
Fighting. So I think is that all the notes? I think that's all the notes.
My central note would be never mention My Hero Academia again. That would be my central note.
Okay, but
every page should want you make the reader want to change to the next page. So you got to end that page with something really interesting, and don't talk about food so much. If I was your artist, I'd be like, "Can I draw anything besides a sandwich?" No food humor. Just get the food out of there.
Unless there's a point to it.
There is a point. Like, there's a reason I call it crumbs, because I was thinking about making the panel kind of like torn breadcrumbs, Oh
yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. The disintegration of the character.
Yeah.
But why? Like, he doesn't have a food power.
I know, but like, here's the thing. Like, this was gonna go out as
needs food.
Like this book was actually gonna go out as a freebie for another story I was gonna do.
Somebody's bingo is barking.
Is that Preston's dogs or
no? That is not my dogs.
Okay. So,
I was planning to give this book out as like a free comic book, like a free floppy with another project I was doing. So yeah, that's kind of why I just like it's not my A game, if you get what I'm trying to say. Sure. I just kind of went with whatever's goofy and funny, and I
figured that because this is a Comicsgate, the official first Comicsgate stream. Comicsgate script reading. It should be about superheroes.
It should be, yes, exactly. And Mecha, did you had a note, right?
Yeah, and your get rid of the food. I don't want to hear about food anymore.
You don't like food?
I don't like
hungry?
That's what you see in a lot of SJW Marvel writing. Gail Simone in particular, Mariko Tamaki. It's always food. It's always food. I don't care about food in a superhero comic.
It's just a slight religious thing. Like, I'm not Christian, but I like the
Well,
Christian
if you're
allegory.
gonna go with the breadcrumb idea,
Yeah.
Hansel and Gretel. You know,
I gotta say, I did not get a Jesus reference out of the sandwich, so that
No,
was in my head.
like, you know,
this is
like
my
the
body.
body.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Oh,
body.
that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
For
Look,
me,
the thing is with crumbs, you're torturing an analogy that is not an appropriate analogy for a guy who flies into pieces. It just doesn't fit. No, sorry, it just doesn't fit. And I'm saying that as a writer, many years' experience as a writer, it doesn't
Shattered
fit.
glass is already
Obviously-
taken, though.
Yeah.
Obviously, you had some kind of idea in your head, but the crumbs with this, it's just not. It's not connecting. I think you need to go back and think about, if you're going to go for something obvious, go for Shattered, Jigsaw, something like that.
Well, the glass is also
Jigsaw.
like a reflection metaphor too.
Yeah.
Assembly.
Those are used a lot. Shattered glass and Jigsaw is, of course, everybody knows Jigsaw is the main super villain of the Punisher movies or whatever the hell.
Yeah.
Punisher Warzone, the best Punisher movie of all.
Or even a doll thing.
Yeah, that's why I figured is the
Or
doll,
like a
the
puzzle,
doll element.
You know? Have them playing with a puzzle or something.
An action figure, really, a broken action figure that would tie into this pretty aptly, I think.
Yes, it would.
Is there some term they use for decommissioned dolls, including action figures, which are just a doll?
Smelting or melting it down or something.
Like when they're broken.
Send them over to Comics Artist Pro Secrets.
There you go.
Ragdoll, like
beheading.
No, that's just a type of doll, a rag doll.
No, I mean like in animation, there's a ragdoll effect where something's completely boneless and it just flails around.
Ragdoll, just like in a video game.
I'm just using an online thesaurus.
Drop my thesaurus.
By the way, guys, I got an email here. I will share with you.
Oh boy,
the cover has been lettered.
Oh, nice.
Oh, there's some broken glass right there.
That's broken glass, right?
Yeah.
What about just broken?
Ooh.
And by the way,
I love this.
It's spider web. It's technically spider webbing, is what they call it when that happens. And
I like the bullet hole in the glass right at her head.
Little splatters of blood around it.
So it looks like she's been shot in the head. I like that.
It's a pretty grim scene.
It's pretty classy.
It's the wallpaper on my phone at the moment, actually.
Oh, awesome. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
it's really nice.
You can't see her breasts, though. What's the point of that?
Yeah, I know. Where's the female nudity? Is there any nudity?
She's not kissing another female ghost. What the hell?
Not, I know. Yeah.
Talk about bait and switch.
He said there's a distinct lack of degeneracy in the next volume. So,
well, there's murder is degenerate. It still takes place during World War II.
It does.
Is that not degenerate enough for you people?
Yeah, my note on the last one, Crumbs, which I'm not in love with the title, is if I was a bully at a school, and because it seems like superpowers are kind of rare, right? I mean, Olympus came to this kid presumably because there weren't a lot of other up and coming kids with better superpowers who had their lives together, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm going, superpowers are kind of rare. That's probably the only superpowered kid in the school, and that could be the only superpowered kid in the state. I don't really know how you're setting up the world, how common it is that you have superpowers.
It's something like what you're describing.
Okay. So if that's like the only superpowered kid in the state, I don't think I'd pick on him. Right? I mean, how many stories are there of, like Carrie, activated her superpowers when she was bullied, right? If I was a bully, like the one kid I wouldn't pick on was the superpowered kid. It might activate some danger sense thing and then you die, right? It's
and again, I mean, bullying still happens nowadays. And even, what was that, the last school shooting? They're all like, yeah, we bullied that kid pretty hard. And then he just came into the school one day with a gun and he shot a bunch of us. So guns should be illegal. And it's like, you kids are missing the plot a bit, aren't you? Yeah. First off, don't admit you bullied the kid, because that makes you look like you deserve it.
But the bullies could kick the head around like a soccer ball. That's thinking. That's thinking.
Yeah, I was thinking about them setting up as a bowling pin and then using his head to throw against the rest of his body.
His arms and legs as bowling pins or something.
Yeah.
Man, that would be really disturbing. You should totally do that.
Or have them hide one of his limbs.
Yeah, run by, snatch a limb off, and then just like play keep away or something. That's one of the things you really do want to try and do at the very beginning of your comic. You want to grab them, pull somebody in by the shirt collar and really hold their attention.
Yeah.
What if he could like disconnect his skin and like choke people with it?
Oh God!
Does the skin come off?
That's a little far.
Expand that a bit further.
It also depends how sort of if you want to make him more of a science hero, you could look at things like energy required for crystallization and evaporation, or you could look at quantum entanglement. Like he doesn't have any physical connection between his limbs, so it's actually in some ways a psychokinetic ability because there's action at a distance to allow his limbs to continue to function.
Make him a character.
Is there a kind of platonic ideal form of him in hyperspace or subspace or something which his normal physical form manifests from? Or
well, I'm setting up the idea for that, but if I'm thinking about whether or not I want to explore that, so I'm just kind of gonna leave that blank for now.
This is where issue and chapter titles let you throw an idea in there that you may never come back to, because you could call it action at a distance, entanglement. Basically anything rather than crumbs and a perpetual revisiting of sandwiches and various sorts of comestibles, because
sandwiches are the theme.
I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling the sandwich.
I don't know. I mean, if at least again, normally
the new title is now sandwiches.
It's now sandwich, but it's spelled like it is in this sandwich. Sandwich. That's his superhero name now. It's Sandwich.
Sandwich? Question mark? A question we've all asked.
What if he could like steal other people's body parts and he could like put somebody?
That's disgusting. Guy, look, we're going.
That's gross. All right.
Or he could like steal the belly's face and put it on his butt. And then, like,
okay, all right, yeah, no, that idea just is not good.
I don't have a problem with the title, and again, like crumbs. Again, normally you go with like shattered glass, but that's been done. It's kind of been done. This is a little unique, and I get the feeling it's supposed to be a bit comedic too. So that comes across to me. It comes across at least as a little lighthearted.
Yeah, that's what I was going for.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So moving on, we have what's the title of this one? Patriarchal Ape.
I don't remember. The title is "There's No Gods at All."
Okay, there's no gods at all. I like it.
Wonderful reference to the genius man Alex Jones when he was in Doom. When he was in Doom 2016 as Doom Guy.
Exactly. All right. So I see there's going to be a bunch of narration.
I want to kind of do the narration, I guess.
Okay. All right. You can.
And damn notepad file again.
There's a bunch of narration, and
it's a TXT file.
And then after all the narration, there's more narration. And then there's more narration. I don't see any dialogue. You wrote, there's like not a single damn line of dialogue in 10 pages.
I didn't put the dialogue in quotes because again, I just slammed this out. I just slapped
I think like page 7.
Okay. If I did that, it was on accident.
Page 7.
Because otherwise I was slapping my finger against the keyboard.
Page 5. There's page 8.
Yeah.
There's 7.
There's 2 characters who actually
you're right.
Dialogue.
There's some dialogue. Okay, so out of 10 pages, we got a couple of lines. All right, I feel good. Okay.
So I can do narration.
I guess you should be our narrator then.
Okay.
All right.
And then there's the 2 main characters, Billy, and then there's Cassie. Okay. There's some dialogue. I didn't even write any dialogue because I usually figure I'll make the dialogue. The dialogue needs to be the most polished thing, so it'll come last.
Okay. Fair enough. But I mean, like, look, even if it's just a perfunctory line, even if it's a clunker, I still put dialogue where there should be dialogue.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that's what I figured is After like page 5, it was like, okay, I do need specific dialogue. But at the beginning, it's like, get the story out, get the story beats out. We need to know before I forget. That's always a key thing. Is if I don't write this immediately, I'm going to forget what I was writing, and then we got nothing. So it's a battle against my faulty memory. That's usually what the real war is.
All right.
But, yeah, we do get dialogue. I forget when. I don't remember. What's the
Page
script?
7. We have the dialogue on page 7. Okay.
The script is beautiful. Who wrote this? This is amazing.
Text file.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead.
Okay, page 1, panel 1. Average-looking guy about college age in his living room yelling at his mom about student loans. Panel 2. She is unconcerned. Guy looks more stressed. Panel 3. Guy storms out of house. So you can see how quickly I beat that out.
Mhm.
Page 2, panel 1. Guy stomping away from home, pulling on a goofy kitsch, multicolored Christmas-themed plaid jacket and baseball cap. Blue cap, like, please be patient. I have autism, blue. Panel 2. Panel 2, guy walking into town. Let's call him Billy. I just came up with his name, Billy. He's entering a sort of busy crosswalk. Narration: a college course in Central American menstrual basket weaving has not prepared him for life. Panel 3, Billy following behind a man by himself. Wait, where did I leave off? I just thought, oh,
3. Billy following behind a man by himself. Narration.
okay. He's stalking a man. Billy discovered his power to slow time a few years back, but it didn't help him much in college. Panel 4, the two going down the stairs into a subway. Billy is getting very close behind him, a bit blurry, like a camera out of focus or someone who's been running. Narration: something about using his power playing Street Fighter. Panel 5, sharpen in focus. Oh, this is really slapdash, actually. Wow. It gets better as it goes on, trust me.
Awesome.
Panel 5, sharpen in focus. Billy reaches for the guy's wallet now that they are alone. Panel 6, perfect lift, sharp focus. Panel 7, Billy stops and turns slightly away from his victim to count the cash, a single $10 bill. He looks slightly tired from the effort or from disappointment. Narration: can't ever pay back my loans like this, but at least I won't starve. Page 3, panel 1, Billy exiting the subway. Narration: life is bullshit. The system is bullshit, man. Gonna be under this debt forever. Why are people just now telling me to go to trade school? This whole system is a scam. Run over extra panels if must. Panel 2, Billy walks towards an intersection between a gas station and fast food place. Narration: luck has never been on my side. I'm not going to have a rich uncle die and leave me a windfall. Panel 3, Billy looking back and forth between generic fast food burger place and a gas station convenience store with a large truck parked near the front. Panel 4, zoom in on truck at gas station. It's an armored truck, no guards in sight. Panel 5, Billy's surprised face. Narration: holy shit. Page 4, panel 1, Billy quickly creeping up around the corner behind the truck. Still no guards. He is turning his jacket inside out and lowering his hat. Panel 2, Billy approaching the huge stacks of money. I guess I should have mentioned earlier in the truck that the back doors are already opened. Should add that. But anyway, huge stacks of money, sharp focus on the money and the doors where the guards are both inside for some reason. Yeah. By the doors, I should have mentioned the gas station doors. The guards are both inside the gas station, neither facing the truck. Narration: is it this easy? Panel 3, Billy reaches in and pulls out a big sack of money. Narration: even if I get away clean, this probably has one of those anti-theft die packs. Panel 4, Billy holding the sack of money takes off running in the other direction. Narration: a die pack is nothing compared to being caught here. Panel 5, Billy hops a nearby fence, swinging the bag up high. Narration: it was easy, seems impossible. Panel 6, Billy hugging the bag while looking for another path of escape. Narration, gotta get away unseen. Page 5, panel 1. Cute, attractive blonde girl walking through the halls of her university, earbud in one ear connected to her phone, tiny backpack slung over one shoulder, not a care in the world. Name her Cassie, I guess. Panel 2, her eyes go wide, looking toward earbud. Panel 3, close up of her phone displaying that it is turned to a police scanner. Page 6, panel 1. She runs out the door to the outside, holding the backpack up in front of her. She looks determined and nervous. Narration, my big chance. It all starts here. Panel 2, she jumps into the car, something plain looking but otherwise expensive, like you would forget it was a BMW, but she claims she got it used, as if it doesn't make her a total rich bitch. I should have also mentioned you'd call it a BMW. She'd remind you it's a Mercedes-Benz, actually. So, panel 3, she pulls a very thin-looking superhero-type suit out of her backpack. Panel 4, her struggling to remove her street clothes from behind the steering wheel while parked in the school parking lot. Panel 5, her struggling to squeeze into her dumb slut outfit from behind the steering wheel. Panel 6, her car carefully pulls out into the main street, making sure to signal her turn. What a nerd. Page 7, panel 1, the armored car in front of the gas station reporting on the missing bag of cash. Panel 2, Cassie sitting in her car across the street, talking to herself like she's Batman. So, wait, this would be Cassie's dialogue here. Who's doing Cassie?
I guess me.
All right.
So the perp absconded with the contents of the armored vehicle while the guards were distracted. Undoubtedly all part of their plan.
Panel 3, Cassie drives around the block looking for where Billy might have run. Panel 4, Cassie driving further away looking confused.
If it took me 5 minutes to get here, how far could he get on foot? I don't even know which way he went.
Panel 5, Cassie passing some kind of bulk machinery shop. Billy is in the middle of the otherwise open yard surrounded by scissor lifts and forklifts and trucks and propane tanks. He's hugging the bag of money like it's his child. Panel 6, Cassie slams on the brakes while glaring at Billy. Page 8, panel 1, Cassie roughly pulling her seatbelt off while pointing at Billy over the roof of her car.
Hey, you, stop!
Panel 2, Billy frozen in place in the middle of the yard. He's been caught by a girlishly dressed fetishist. Panel 3, Billy breaks off to one side of the yard.
Stop, in the name of the law!
Panel 4, Billy is in the middle of a small maze of barrels and other stacked factory objects of the like, looking at the extremely tall chain link fence wrapped in thick, dark-colored plastic and topped with razor wire. He's looking worried. Panel 5, Cassie comes skidding up behind him, looking cocksure but also sweaty.
You didn't know I ran track in high school for a year.
Panel 6, Billy looks more confused as he stares at her. She is wearing spangly-looking multicolored one-piece spandex outfit that covers her from her feet to her neck. Her face has an eye mask. Their outfits clash quite nicely. This is Billy. Who does Billy? Who's reading Billy?
With that suit.
Oh, yeah? Well, what the hell with that jacket?
My grandma bought me this. My grandma brought this jacket for me, you bitch. Stunning acting right there. Right.
Perfectly read. Okay. Page 9, panel 1, Cassie lunges at Billy. He ducks and slides out of the way. Panel 2, Billy grabs a wrench off a nearby table and runs towards the yard gate at the entrance. Narration from Billy. I guess whoever reads Billy could read this.
I also learned that I am slightly stronger when I focus my attention.
Panel 3, Cassie turning to pursue Billy as Billy is mad dashing towards the gate, blurry vision mode. Panel 4, everything goes sharp as Billy launches the wrench at the top valve of one of the gas canisters right next to Cassie. Narration. Well, this would be Billy's narration.
I broke more than one controller playing Halo Slayer free for all.
Panel 5, canister erupts with a spout of fire. Cassie braces herself from the near miss. Panel 6, Billy picks up a nearby saw blade from a pallet and throws it through the air in patented sharp vision. Panel 7, the saw blade strikes the side of a container, causing an explosion. Panel 8, Cassie is thrown through the air, engulfed in flame. Page 10, panel 1, Cassie's body slams into the top of a dumpster lid on the other side of the facility. Her dumb outfit is shredded in half, revealing much of her hot body, but she is otherwise uninjured. Panel 2, she bounces off the lid, propped against the side of a building, and falls into the dumpster. Panel 3, the dumpster lid collapses, closed over her arm sticking out over the side. Panel 4, Billy laughing as he runs off to freedom. Or was that panel 4?
Panel 4. That was in fact panel 4, yes.
Panel 5, it's a while later, and Billy is approaching the garage of his mom's house. He still seems very smug. Panel 6, inside the garage, which is empty except for a few tools and a lawnmower, and maybe some particle board sitting up against a window. Billy has a trash bag he is flipping open.
Now, how to deal with this die pack?
Okay, and that's
all
the end.
right. We made it. Okay, let's do this. Who wants to go first?
First off, that was a lot more messy than I remember, because that thing is very rough first draft. It was rougher than I even realized. This should have been polished up a little bit before I brought it to the show.
That's all right. Well, here we are. Okay.
Sure.
Positive notes. Who's starting?
I will start.
All right.
I liked it. It's sort of 4chan the comic, but I like it a lot. And if it gets dialogue, it probably wouldn't need a lot unless you actually make Billy the narrator, in which case you could really go ham on it.
Yeah, he would be the narrator, especially for the beginning, but yeah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't take much.
No, I think you should just keep the 4chan flavor. It's good.
Actually, well, that's all that's in the script. I don't know if it'll actually make it into the comic, but yeah, I had fun writing this.
You should keep it. Find the fun.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was fun. So, the bank robbery thing. You have a very fun, humorous writing style. I really think you need to definitely go in like comedic directions.
Yeah, that was one of the things is when we were talking about literally, is my brother's written other stuff, but it was also usually really serious. And that other comic script that we read on the show was a lot more serious than this. But for me, I prefer funny stuff. You know, I've been told I have an overdeveloped sense of humor.
There you go. Mecca.
Underdeveloped.
Yeah.
It was pretty simple for what it was trying to do. There wasn't a whole lot to get lost in, but plenty to chew on. So that was pretty good. I like the Halo reference.
He's a big fan because I want to make him a regular guy. He plays a lot of video games. He's a slacker.
I've seen that from you and your brother. You guys both work in a lot of video game references.
Yeah, we play a lot of video games.
Yeah, I noticed. I watch your Resident Evil 6 streams.
Well, those are Comicsgate, but we happen to be playing.
I don't even watch.
You can mute them, and they're still enjoyable because we're having so much fun playing.
Yeah,
it's Mercenaries mode specifically.
Yeah, well, not to get off into the weeds on that one, but yeah, it was, 2 characters, bank heist, easy.
Yeah, it's just an element of the concept, which is just this. He's so average. He's a little sociopathic, you could say. It is very 4chan. It's 4chan, the comic book.
If it's average, why do we even give a shit? Is the question.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's the 4chan part of it. That is the 4chan part of it. That's weaponized autism in action.
Yes.
They're nonchalantly focused.
He's
politely rude, firmly unhelpful, briskly vague.
I honestly expect to hear.
Did I coin that term, by the way, or did I pick that up from somewhere?
Weaponized autism?
Yeah.
You did
picked
not.
it up from somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you did not invent
You
that.
didn't-
Come on.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Taking credit for weapon. You're going to steal credit. You're going to buy the copyright or the
I'm trademarking
Trademark
weaponized
it.
autism. There you go.
trademarking. The trademark to weaponized autism now belongs to Preston Poulter.
There you go.
Attacking 4chan on their home ground will surely end well.
Yes, these are enemies that are huge pushovers, and you don't need to worry.
Okay.
Yeah. After all, they literally called a missile strike down, which killed something like 100 people. And that's not a joke. They actually did that. I was there, and they, not we, did it.
They blew up that van. They blew up that van. Destroy. Die.
Reverse image search, and then an hour and a half later, a Hellfire missile. Well, there you go.
Tug's not the only one to weaponize a reverse image search.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Amazing.
AK-47. You've been pretty quiet over there.
Yeah. I was kind of laughing a lot. Like I was trying not to laugh. It's pretty funny. It makes me laugh. Like kind of like I was trying to visualize it a lot. And how do I say this in a proper way? That
Speak your truth.
no, I'm trying. I'm not trying to skirt anything. It's just how do I just like it. That's it. Yeah, there you go.
Because I didn't want to make it like super ridiculous, over the top. Like normally when I think of comic books, I do end up thinking of Marvel. I think of a guy who is made out of rubber that can open dimensional gateways, and it's like, okay, he has 2 powers then, and neither of them have anything to do with it. Where does dimensional gateways come into being made out of rubber? I don't get this. This is crazy, and this is just like, especially for the modern era. I'm not 20, but I think I'm a little plugged in to what the Squiddos are doing nowadays, what they're saying, what they're thinking.
What the hell is a Squiddo?
the Squiddos. See, you're too old now. But that's the thing, is a lot of them are worried about their money, They're like, what am I going to do for a living? You told me to go to college. I went to college, and now I can't make any money, and I'm $150,000 in debt. What am I going to do with my future? This future you promised me isn't going to materialize. And this is basically who this kid is. And then the girl character is much more traditional. She's basically like a superhero fanboy or fangirl.
Yeah.
So, and that's how we're introduced to her as well. But she's also supposed to be kind of, she's not the main character, and she's not supposed to be somebody that you idealize or anything like that. She's kind of the whipping boy or whipping girl, I guess.
How does the
Working person.
Because the thing is, like, I'm probably around that age that you're talking about. You know what I'm trying to say? So I can actually kind of understand this guy's point of view. So I was just immersed in it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what that is what I would really hope for. I want to talk to people. It doesn't have to be a specific age group. It should be kind of universal. But at the same time, I just don't get the mindset now that it's like, oh, just constantly pay into your 401k and everything's going to work out. And it's like that already is breaking down now. We're seeing the end of that. And in the meantime, here's a kid. He's otherwise got a stable life. So I didn't want to make him look. I wanted to make him look a little narcissistic, but not evil. He's not a villain protagonist. He's just kind of self-obsessed, maybe.
A little full of himself, yeah.
Yeah.
It works, so. And it's, like, I like the fact that you name her Cassie and she's kind of like Batman, because it reminds me of that Batgirl. What was
it? Cassie Cage? No, wait.
Yeah.
Cassandra Cain.
Yeah.
Cassandra Cain, that was it.
Yeah. That's a nice little, like, if people want to see that as a reference, they can see it as that. So
it actually wasn't a reference, but that was the thing, is she's somebody that I'm kind of basing her on, a real person, just the most straight-laced that you can think of, moral, basically like that.
Boring.
Yes. boring until she gets blown up, and then she's hot. She's hot. She's literally hot. She's on fire.
You don't have to blow up women to find out how hot they are.
But it helps.
It helps.
Really ill-advised.
But yeah, no, she shows up in the spandex suit, the stretch pants or whatever. She's got the spandex on. It's a typical superhero. That was one of my favorite comic book panels ever. What was it? The Purple Man from the whatever.
Jessica Jones.
Jessica Jones. Yeah, it's the actual comic, and he just straight up he just like put on your stupid slut outfit and go to the Baxter Building and kill the Fantastic Four. And it's like, who's this awesome guy? Who's this cool guy? Why isn't the story more about him? I don't care about Jessica Jones.
Right.
I want to know more about this guy. And for some reason, he's got the face of one of the characters from, what was it, Doug? The classic stupid ass Nickelodeon show. That's the only version of the panel I've ever seen, too, is some edit that I saw on 4chan where somebody replaced the guy's face with the character from Doug on Nickelodeon, but it's colored purple. And he's just screaming. He's just screaming at her in her face. Find out where these fucking guys go and fuck each other in the ass, and you go kill them, kill anyone who gets in their way, kill Daredevil. And it's like, this is hilarious. That to me is what I'd want to read in American Cape comics.
Rapist characters are underrepresented.
It's funny because if you played or it's not really played now, but Marvel Superheroes role-playing game had a karma rule. You weren't allowed to kill and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, and you lost all your karma if you ever did anything like that.
And people who'd never read comics but who role-played would play that game, and virtually 100% of them would rapidly become villains because they'd act like Dungeons and Dragons adventurers.
Yeah.
And one of the first things, like, they'd mind control hot superhero women, and they'd rob. They'd say, well, this guy's just going to come back, so I'm going to kill him. Yeah, but you'll lose all your karma. Yeah, but he'll be dead. So all these other superheroes who are going to criticize me will secretly be relieved, so I'm just going to go ahead and kill him.
It's one of the things I can't stand about superhero comics is just that a lot of them are just so simply written. They're simply written children's parables, and you can do that. You can make that work. But after like 80 years, you have to get a little more creative. And
well, you see, the original Silver Age Marvel stuff, like Kirby Lee stuff, they were aging in close to real time, and it was not going to go on for 80 years. It was actually progressing. There were lines, character arcs, and so on. It was progressing. And then it hit 1967, 68, and it turned into a trademark farm, of all things. Mm-hmm. And then it couldn't have real change. But all these indie comics, we're all allowed to have real change and do whatever we want. Yeah. So it's very silly.
Until they become our new independent properties, and they start making giant amounts of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles money.
I haven't done my own research on this, but in the trademark feud that erupted on Twitter, the group formerly known as Comicsgate suddenly became like amazing legal scholars and voiced a bunch of contradictory opinions. But the one who was earliest and probably most notable was Just Some Guy, who was like, you can't trademark comics, and his arguments were dumb for them. But Chrissy was like, dude, Marvel and DC share a joint ownership of the term superhero trademark as applied to comic books, and they will shut your shit down.
They'll try to. Yeah. They'll try to.
Yeah, what was it that Disney owns, like the copyright or the trademark to, like, I forget, it was like some catchphrase or something, and it's like, how can you just trademark? That one's really lame, and of course also
Cadbury chocolate has trademarked a particular shade of purple. So no other chocolate bars, you would call them candy bars, are allowed to have that color purple on their wrappers in the world. Yeah. So trademarks are hilarious. Every 14 years, you just have to bring it. Yeah, the Happy Birthday song. That's right. That's copyright. That's copyright, not trade.
Master Shake, he created a new version of the Happy Birthday song. That's Snoozefest, the Happy Birthday song.
So, Zombie, you're saying Marvel and DC couldn't successfully pursue the trademark on a superhero comic?
Well, they haven't. They've tried to and failed. Because of the specific Peter Pan versus McLean argument about Hoover. Hoover became a generic term through use. So it was no longer trademarkable as a brand the same way. Because people were saying Hoover when they meant vacuum.
Right.
I'm going to Hoover the floor, I'm going to vacuum the floor. Plus, there were pre-existing uses of superhero going back to the 19th century from some random French author that no one had heard of, but presumably Stan Lee actually had heard of. But that's not really the specific point. The specific point is commercial use.
Right.
See, the thing about the Comicsgate trademark is commercial use. That's the killer blow, is not the rest of it and who thought it up. Because in point of fact, Captain Cummings and I thought it up in his comment section back in the day when he was criticising comics. I said, maybe we need a Comicsgate type movement. And he said, no, we don't need a Comicsgate type movement. It would be bad to have something called Comicsgate. And then a couple of weeks later, he reversed his position on that because he said, you know, there's been so much pushback over criticising whichever the fucking one it was, you know, one of these flash in the pan SJW issues. Because he never tried to really make book on it the way these other grifters do. He was more genuine and passionate about saying this particular thing is really bad and needs to stop, and then he'd move on. But in those 2 weeks, he set up a Minds account. He had his Minds page, and he had his Patreon, original Patreon and stuff. And people began to coalesce around the idea of pushing back against not the content of the comics, but against the creators. Now, none of that would be commercial use.
Right.
None of that would be commercial use. None of it. It wouldn't even be the preparatory acts for commercial use. Now, the people making other claims against Preston Poulter for Comicsgate, whether it's 2 words or one, sound alike, passing off, whatever, none of them have made commercial use of it yet, with the possible exception of Mr. Frog McArse Bandit. And even then...
Yeah, he did. He has it. All he had to do was finish a book. That's what my brother made.
But then he's made repeated statements abandoning any claim.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, even most recently, when he was on Liam's channel,
to get around.
When he was on Liam's channel, and he said, "Yeah, that's not what we've tried to do." You know, I want to. So like, okay, so then he was not pursuing it as a trademark. So yeah, it's
or maintaining any claim. You see.
Yes, exactly.
What happened with Marvel and DC with Captain Marvel? DC took over Fawcett. Fawcett clearly had the trademark name Captain Marvel. Fawcett ceased to exist. DC didn't immediately stake a claim to the name Captain Marvel, but they did to the image and the content of the previous pages, and they couldn't copyright the previous pages because they were already entered the public domain, so they had the image of the character. And they've gone about their way mutating that image to the point where even that's not properly protectable now. And they didn't trademark the name. So then Marvel jumped in within that 14-year period that we have and published their own version of Captain Marvel. So it started off as a bit of a claim jump, but it was legally permissible. And then to their credit, they made it a very distinct, although oddly parallel character, like the negabands that get clashed together, swap places with Rick Jones and the Captain Marvel character in the final version of it in the classical period. But trademarks, it's like one of my trademarks, registered trademarks, is Time Traveller, spelt the English way with double L-E-R at the end. And that's a registered trademark for comics, computer games, something else. I think it's in the film category too. And I do send cease and desist for people. There's one animated thing I haven't sent it for, even though it's a character that travels in time, because I'm satisfied that it's different enough and it wasn't an intentional infringement. But I've ceased and desisted 4 different people, including one multi-million-dollar operation, because they were infringing on my trademark. So that's how trademarks work. I didn't invent the phrase time traveller. H.G. Wells did in English. But it was never trademarked, and it's I trademarked it. It's like Preston Poulter. It's like, oh, well, that makes you a right prick. Okay, it makes me a right prick then. But at the end of the day, I've had so many ideas stolen over the years. I got so fucking sick of it. I looked for every legal means to protect myself. Now, if they cared so much, if War Campaign and the rest of the arse bandits really cared about what they were doing, they would have trademarked something long before this.
Right.
They didn't even reserve the domain names. An Egyptian guy got them all.
Right.
But they had time to do MichaelMiller.com.
Yeah, and
to a Chinese restaurant.
What I found most amusing and is that in order for Ethan to state that the trademark is actually his, he would have to say, I have been using this as my trademark the whole time, meaning whenever anyone said Comicsgate in regards to comic books as a brand, they were thinking ultimately of me.
That's right.
And that, when I let John Malin do, Comicsgate Presents talking about comic books, I was certifying him. So I've been using it both as a market certification and as a brand. But that would also mean that then Ethan would have to take responsibility, because he would then be, oh, so you're the commercial source of Detective Dead then? And so he would start to, suddenly all the misdeeds of all the different collectors, the people like, the Jeff Hicks and the whatnot. Oh, well, if that was a Comicsgate certified book, then that meant
You have to take open personal responsibility
you
instead
have
of
to
just
start taking responsibility for that shit.
instead of just puppet mastering it all in a Discord. But
Exactly.
the other thing is that you have to make commercial use of it. You have to be commercially viable when you do so.
Right.
So they're all knocked out on that basis before you even go any further. And there's only been a handful of products that have actually had it put on them.
Cyberfrog doesn't have it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is odd to say the least.
Yes.
And then you have stuff like just the very odd fraudulent claim of registration of a trademark in 2018 or whatever it was.
Right.
Like claiming that it had not only already been reserved, but it had been registered.
But he did Comicsgate Live and got super chats.
Yeah.
Yeah, he named his YouTube channel Comicsgate.
No, he named it Fashion Frog.
No,
It's not his account, but he would say Comicsgate in the title of his YouTube videos, where he would go on and on about SJWs.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly like the trademark holder for Star Wars, Anna, with her title for her YouTube, right?
Right.
Star Wars Girl or whatever.
She's the registered trademark holder for the term Star Wars, obviously.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
She's
Presumably
a wonderful person.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
They would be far better advised to do what I'm now going to prevent myself from saying.
Okay.
Okay.
But anything based in America, there is a specific protection, and I'm sure somebody will hide behind it soon to do something. But the point is, a certification process using a trademark, a certification mark, ISO compliant, International Standards Organization compliant. You just have to have an archive, you have to have record keeping, you have to have a public standard capable of being put into a quality manual and having quality control exercised. So that can be as simple as a list of ingredients, or as complex as a high council of BMX riders summoning all bicycle riders from around the world every 4 years for a parliament to decide the standard weight of an aluminium frame bicycle and exactly how tall dirt hills are allowed to be and all the rest of it. So, you can get as lost in the details as you like, but at the end of the day, a simple certification process that certifies a creator, you could make it as strong as is not allowed to have a criminal record, or you could say is not allowed to have a criminal record for X, Y, and Z, is not allowed to have doxed, is not allowed to harass. And then when people say, well, what counts as harassing? What if I get called out on Twitter and I just have a absolute shit fight and I give as good as I get? If I beat some creepy person up who's arguing against me, that doesn't mean I've harassed them. That just means they picked on me and they picked the wrong guy, kind of thing. But you see, there are discrete, real-world ways in any certification process to simply identify. That's what the system reference document for Die 20 role-playing games did. They just said, you are not allowed to say Dungeons and Dragons because we own that trademark. You are only allowed to call it something like the world's most popular fantasy role-playing game. And when I published that stuff, I refused to say that because I've always loathed Dungeons and Dragons. So I used to just say it's based on the trademarked and copyrighted rules for a well-known fantasy role-playing game.
Right.
Because I didn't think it was the world's most popular, and if it was, it didn't deserve to be. So I was not going to promote people who were not paying me to promote them. And also the rules that we wrote and published had basically fuck all to do with Dungeons and Dragons. They were so far away, other than the overlapping rules, which is all we cared about, that we just had no interest in it. There was nothing you could buy for Dungeons and Dragons and use with our stuff without a lot of work. And we weren't the only people doing that. Now, the Comicsgate certification process could simply be that you're independent, that you respect the customers. It could be a charter.
Mm-hmm.
And lots of corporations, big and small, have charters. I mean, Google has "Don't Be Evil." So, I mean, that's hilariously that's very good for Google. Opposite world,
they can state that. They can sure state that all the live long day.
But the certification has to be more than a mere statement. It has to certify on behalf of a purchaser that a certain state of affairs is true at the time of certification and likely to remain true for the duration of the experience or purchase. So a comic book certification process that isn't a comic book code, because that was ludicrous. It's not that you can't have adult language, nudity, possibly even
sex,
pornographic, like actual explicit sex, like a European comic. But I think you have to be the number one problem, I think, when Captain Cummings and me and a few other people were arguing this online, and the fuck a lot of people were even talking about it at the time, although a lot of people felt it, which is why it took off when Cummings and a couple of others did it before it got hijacked by Meyer. It was the lack of transparency. It wasn't the views that they held. It was the fact that they were holding views, whether or not they were contrary to the general community views, and they frequently were, because they were too quote unquote progressive and too aberrant. But I mean, a lot of what they were pushing was no different than what Deep Space Nine pushed 25 years ago. The difference is they were pushing it in a non-transparent way and saying, no, this comic's for everybody.
Right.
This comic's for kids. That's why it's got giant wasps orally raping somebody and pouring their blood out of their skull. That's exactly the kind of clean, wholesome stuff I'd like my 12-year-old girl to read. So that's not being transparent. You're gonna have to say, this is the equivalent of an MA-rated horror film. Right. So if you don't like MA horror-rated, horror films, this is not for you. Well, so there's nothing wrong with There's nothing wrong with a basic genre description, content description as a certification, in my opinion. And in fact, it's helpful because if you bait and switch people, they won't come back as customers. So if you try and market something that's very vanilla and G-rated, like, 10-year-old appropriate rated as being extreme horror fans are not going to want that. But if you have extreme horror and you pretend it isn't, that it's clean cut and wholesome, well, you're bringing trouble down on yourself, aren't you? Like Lone Star, that Lone Star controversy where Lone Star's, in my view, very graphically, apparently murdering people. It's not just injuring them, it's really severe violence.
Yeah, severe maiming, yeah.
I don't have a problem with any of that stuff. I've written stuff like that, published. I've written horror erotica. I've gone there, but I've never ever tried to put the wrong cover on something. Mm-hmm. I've always said what it is. It's horror erotica for adults, right? Intended for women. You like it or you don't. It's for frustrated housewives. It does well as that. That's what it is. Thank you for buying it. I've never ever said, okay, it's this desperation to not miss a sale, and therefore, it's not that much different from Disney's Aladdin. Really, it's just got a bit more. It's just got a bit more anal penetration in it. You can't do that. You're gonna just have to say. And
yes, you can have ratings like movies. Right?
Yeah,
voluntary, right? And then the only subjective part of that becomes, John. When you're certifying your stuff, John Smith. When you're certifying your stuff, Preston, you seem to consistently underplay how violent, how sexy, how this, how that your content is. And then rather than try and be too smart-arsy about it and say, this has sexuality that may be confronting for some audiences, because that's just another way of saying, you dumb hicks in flyover country are not going to like seeing two women kiss. It would be far better.
Turns out.
No. But it's just an example. But basically, just tell people what it's got in it, the way some Christian sites do.
Right.
They don't say don't watch it. They just say, okay, if you watch this at about the 40-minute mark, there are two adult women kissing. It's done appropriately. If it was a man and a woman, I don't think anyone in any of our congregations would have a problem with it. But it's two women. They're fully clothed. There's no sexual content in terms of nakedness, and they're not in a bedroom. But you do see two women kiss, and it is obviously the intent to show that they are in a relationship which we would normally consider would be one between a man and a woman. Right. That's all they do. That's all they do.
Well, that's what comic book. A lot of comic book fans actually they seem to want, a return to the '90s. They want comics to be for everyone, but specifically they have to be comics from the mid '90s, which were the Dark Ages, just Spawn and just tons of blood flying around all over the place, and very sexualized women, but ugly, poorly drawn.
What people don't understand about certification as well is, and this is coming from somebody who used to make horror, it cuts both ways. If I want to watch R-rated horror, I want to watch R-rated horror. I want to watch the uncut version of The Predator. I don't want to watch an MA film. I want to watch an R-rated film. So certification satisfies potential purchasers more. Like White Lily, there's two women kissing. Is there a sex scene? Because then I might buy it. Right. No, there's not really a sex scene.
There's no overt nudity.
There's same-sex relationships, but there's no nudity. Okay, then it's not for me. Right. I'm fine with it, but it's not for me. That is how you standardize under the ISO type system and grow your audience. Which I don't know. I think growing the audience is overrated too in some ways, because I think. The forest fires burnt down all the trees in American comic books. There's no getting around that. And I do believe the trees will regrow in some areas, but they don't regrow that quickly. So the opportunity is not to suddenly get a magic new audience. The opportunity is to define the fields that you're reforesting, so that you can begin to build.
Yeah, a lot of people comment. Back when there used to be comic book shows, and I was posting those customer photos. I had a lot of people comment like, "Damn, man, a lot of women buy your comic books." I'm like, "Yeah, I guess they do." Is that unusual? Like, I don't know, but I mean, yeah.
Well, I used to get that with my horror because, it's like the old joke from the English show Men Behaving Badly, where he's chatting this girl up, and then she goes, and he's like, would you like to sleep with me? And before she can even respond, he's like, "Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was out of line. I'm sorry." And she said, "Oh, all right." And he's like, "What?" Yeah. He's like, "Women like sex too,
Yeah.
And it's the same with comics. Women like comics too. It's not purely men. I mean, I grew up with a girl. She was a year older than me. She had more Marvel comics than I ever did, and all sorts of Marvel comics. So it's just this. It's the '90s cancer. These guys are so trapped in the '90s. All these multiple covers and this other stuff. I mean, it's not that they do it. It's that it's all they do. And they're terrified of certification.
Right.
They're terrified of any kind of standard because they know they're not going to meet it.
I never would have guessed that Master Wall Starring was a lesbian, but
Wall Starring?
Yeah.
Master Wall Starring.
Lesbians, huh?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
That's the thing about the '90s, though, is that
so there you go.
like the one decade you don't want to go back to.
Those were some good notes on your pages.
I don't think we even finished with the positives. We didn't even finish with the positives, and the show's over.
Well, it's too early a draft, so it's absurd to pretend that it's anything more than an early draft.
It is very rough.
Yeah.
It's really a plot more than a script.
Yeah, the core of what I want is there. But I mean, the thing that's really missing is dialogue, sharper dialogue and better description of the events.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
And obviously echo brackets if you want to go the full 4chan.
And a program besides Notebook. Notepad.
So I was a little confused as to why the doors of the truck were open. It just seemed.
Oh yeah, that was a huge, just huge, unbelievable.
Way too big a coinkydinky. Yeah.
Is that the guards were not present to be guarding the money, but that's also kind of the point. Is he's just ruminating about how bad his luck is when this just happens. I was trying to think of how do I get it to the point where he's stealing this huge bag of money, and it's just like I don't care anymore.
I mean, it could be an insulting comparison. I don't mean it to be, but it is quite Kevin Smith-like. Back when he was an actual writer and actually was doing good work, you know, his Clerks, Mallrats kind of.
Clerks.
It's like he would not even lampshade things. He would just do them, and it would just roll along. And
it's a thing that has to happen in the story.
He would just have both guards pissing up against the wall at the same time, and one of them would say, "Is it a good idea that we're both pissing at the same time?" And then immediately, the doors are open, and that's why, and off he goes, kind of thing.
But
if he's got that time bendy thing, they can be,
Well, yeah.
they could be there. They don't have to be. The guards don't have to be somewhere else. They could be.
That's right.
Yeah, he could.
They could be loading it at a bank or whatever, and he could just squeeze on through there and
I didn't want him to
have,
yeah, he could have absolutely, but also I didn't want him to just suddenly display martial arts. Like, oh, he also knows kung fu, or he's a ninja. He's also
he wouldn't even have to do that. He could just, he's slowing down time. He can just sneak past him, grab his bag, and run.
Mm-hmm. But then then you don't have the one-on-one face-off with Cassie, because then it's the cops and Cassie, and then it's like, who the hell is this civilian? And again, now I don't have a way I would have to restructure the entire theft. If I can just pull that part out and put in something, maybe they're having a discussion inside the convenience store, like, oh, what do you think about the flavor of these gas station hot dogs? They're totally disgusting. Why are we buying them? And then they both have to run to the bathroom or something. They have to run to the bathroom thinking about the gas station hot dogs and how disgusting they are, leaving the cash completely open and available. And it's just ridiculous. Basically, the comedy will make it more explainable, because otherwise I have no idea how I'm going to pull off a bank heist in 10 pages.
Gas station sushi instead of a hot dog.
Sushi. So the
enough food humor.
That's
so odd.
I grew up on Weird Al.
It's been very food intensive today.
Yeah.
So it's all.
I never had dinner, so sorry.
I'm hungry. There's somebody whose entire might be a coincidence. One of us is just an entire cheeseburger. One person's head here is just an entire cheeseburger. One of us.
So, are you going to do a character based on your logo? Are you actually going to do a Comicsgate Girl character with a hammer?
By the way, there was already a supervillain hijacking the truck, but dude didn't see him, invisible. So we had a question from the chat.
Where'd that happen? The truck was just open, for no good reason, and he just happened upon it. I mean, normally, if you saw that, if you're just a regular person in real life and you go up and you see an armored car, making a cash delivery, and they're open, and you don't see the guards, do you really think, you know what, I should try and rob this? You would never consider it, because the cameras are going to see you, and you're not a marathon sprinter. You don't even have superpowers. He doesn't consider this until he just storms out of his mom's house because of his student loans. It's like, there's a bag of my student loans sitting right in the face. That's basically the whole thing there. And it's essentially leading him into the whole the sequence where he actually gets the money. What's he going to do with all that cash? He can't.
He's going to buy food with it.
He can't deposit it. He can't actually make a payment. Sandwiches. He's going to buy a lot of sandwiches. Do you know how many sandwiches $150,000 could buy you? Just so many sandwiches.
I charge $150 to draw a sandwich.
How much would that? How much
would it be a mecha sandwich?
It would be a time traveling sandwich that may or may not be disguised as a human being.
It's both a sandwich and not a sandwich at the same time.
There you go.
A Schrodinger sandwich.
Schrodinger sandwich.
So, Preston, are you going to do a character for that logo? The Rainbow Socks hammer woman?
I wasn't planning on one.
Really?
It could be Rainbow Lily.
What I would like to do and I actually sent an offer to Gail Simone. But she said she's booked up. She's like, this pencils down stuff is bullshit. I'm completely booked right now. But but she thanked me. But
That's nice of her to even respond.
it was. But I would like somebody who wants to step forward from the other political side to say, you know what, we can be responsible too, and to acknowledge that to be held accountable is a good thing, and to help contribute a story to this universe under the open license kind of thing.
Just basic human decency. How hard is it to not dox somebody? I could go my entire life without doxing somebody.
So with the open universe, is that going to be Creative Commons attribution?
See, I haven't quite thought about it, but what I would like, yes, a Creative Commons attribution.
No, what I mean is you've got.
I don't know what that means, but when I ran it by my attorney, that was the term they used. So I just know.
Okay, so Preston Poulter creates a character, right?
Yeah.
You are the copyright owner of that character. You are, and letting other people use it under a form of license doesn't change that.
Right.
But provided they say,
right,
White Lily created by Preston Poulter, exactly, they're allowed to use White Lily. Now, then though, the question is, do you allow derivative works and alteration, or can they only use White Lily in terms of her existing character and summary?
I want to allow derivative works and alterations.
So Creative Commons 3.1 or 4 then, yeah.
Right, yeah.
So that means I say White Lily created by Preston Poulter, but in mine, she's more like Porco Rosso or something, and she's like flying a plane and there's like a ghost squadron around her or whatever else, and it's more like, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
that would be CCC. That would be CC 3.0. That's not the same thing as a shared universe where they all live in one world.
Right.
That's like TMNT crossing over with everybody from
and
Cerberus to Flaming Carrot kind of thing.
And I was interested about like how I could encourage other people to do the same thing I would be doing, so to kind of come and go, okay, I want to also do this, and here's my character.
Yep.
And then people just introduce the characters, and whatever works, right? What if somebody introduces just some amazing character, and I'm like, I can write in that universe, okay, I'm going to, if you really wow me, but then it's completely based on merit and market potential rather than whims of, or like the private desires or goals of one person.
Well, also, I mean, TMNT shared its characters around and had characters guest star that other people were creating as other indies, because they were also tiny other than TMNT.
Right.
That it didn't have any commercial impact, negative impact on anybody involved. And in some cases, it's the only surviving real record of some of those characters that anybody would have any familiarity with.
Right.
So, I mean, like that Dynamite Thor character, that's straight out of the Public Domain Superheroes website. There's a whole list of them.
Yeah.
Most of them are awful characters. Some of them are very good characters. And a handful of them are every bit as good as any character that's trademarked or copyrighted. But it's impossible for anybody to appropriate any of those public domain characters ever again. Creative Commons is similar to that, except that you are always the copyright holder. So if somebody puts White Lily in something, and if White Lily is one of them even, but as an example, they put White Lily in something and they don't acknowledge that you are the copyright owner, and that it's created by you, you can absolutely Morava injunction and Anton Pillar that publication or product.
Yes.
And the other question I'd have is this for all media or only for print?
No, I would say just for comic books. So I want to retain the rights of White Lily for film.
Right.
But I want to encourage its adaptation freely in a comic. See.
Right. Because what I'm going to do is put some of the characters, like the humanoid duck film noir guy, as characters under CC 3.0.
Right.
But only for print.
Yeah.
Because obviously I'm going to keep on making animations and try and pimp them and everything for my field, my secondary employment. But comics, I'd be happy for people to do whatever they want with the ones I'm going to release.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is I want to kind of release my film ideas out into the wild in comic books and just say, you guys can just derivative work the hell out of this. I don't care. So.
Yep. What I won't do is try and claim 4th and 5th level or tier rights. So if somebody takes one of the humanoid ducks or one of the other characters I'm going to release, or Time Traveler, the time traveling guy, I'm going to release him for comics. I'm not going to somehow try and claw back their comic as being the basis for a script that I would then option. That's what I'm not going to do. So their derivative work, secondary licensing,
right,
I'm going to let that be entirely theirs, including Time Traveler, provided I get the credit in the credits as the creator of that character and the trademark holder of that character, and then just used with permission. That's all I want, is used with permission. I don't want any money for it. I just want used with permission. The same way the SRD monsters that were copyrighted, they didn't ever put them into the public domain, but they allowed anybody to use them freely, which is CC 3.0. So like the Mind Flayer is still copyrighted, but you are allowed to have a Mind Flayer, as long as you say Mind Flayer created by whoever it was, Jim Moldbay or whoever, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
And I think anybody who's so churlish that they wouldn't give that acknowledgement deserves everything they get.
That is such a good word.
Yeah.
Churlish.
Or Mind Flayer.
Churlish. That's a good one.
Yeah.
It's almost like I'm a writer of some sort.
Exactly.
Who accused you of that?
So yeah, that's the shared universe, and I was looking for, I was looking for somebody maybe on the more social justice-y side to step forward and go, I want to contribute, and that maybe
they're not out by default just because they're social justice or liberal.
Right.
They're not automatically, and that's also the thing too, is you can have core principles. It's really about the principles. The
other thing is that the way War Campaign and the Ethanites kept on trying to win the positioning battle, the battle for the mind of marketing, by saying everybody who opposes them is anti-CG, and everybody who opposes them must therefore be some sort of God-bothering Christian nut. It could not be further from the truth. See, for all the people that they claim are SJWs in quote-unquote anti-CG, some people in this opposition to them may be way worse than any SJW, It's not just the case that some people here are not Christian and are Jewish. There's Luciferians and all sorts opposing them. All sorts of people. And some of those people are a lot more liberal or progressive than any SJW would ever dream of being.
But as soon as they label somebody anti-Comicsgate, guess what that makes them? Comicsgate gatekeepers. And that's something they were preaching from the rooftops from the beginning. CG is not about gatekeeping.
War Campaign and Ethan's certification process consists of finding out whether or not you're
who can send the biggest super chats, who can suck the biggest EP,
and if you are in fact onto them, they're certified anti-CG, because that's what anti-CG is.
There could be
no
dissent.
To them.
Anti-CG is just people that were Comicsgate who left.
Yeah, there's
no, it's not even that. It's not even that. It's people who can tell the difference between a phony $3 bill and legitimate currency. That's all.
Right.
It's just literally people who can spot a phony.
Yeah.
It's now in 2020, it's nothing more than that. You've got the OGs, you've got the people they persecuted, you've got the people who left, you've got their false opposition who've decided to become real opposition because they see the ship sinking. But at the end of the day, there's a whole new wave of people already this year who are just, and fewer people because the stuff they're pushing is not as popular, but are just saying, this stuff's just crap, and these guys are full of shit. I mean, the stuff they say doesn't even make sense day to day. Now, I mean, those people were never Comicsgate in the old days. They're literally just people who blew in, thought it was crap, and blew back out.
Were you keeping up with my show at all while you were gone?
No, I couldn't keep up with anything, really.
All right. Well, you missed out on a bunch.
On Facebook.
You missed out on a bunch.
Didn't have the internet over there?
The internet's got big blocks on it in the islands because they have very strict, let's just say they're not fans of homosexuality or nudity. So any website that has anything more than about a PG rating other than Facebook, because they all use Messenger, you get severe blocks. So, for example, Twitter, I could automate it using a third-party website, but I couldn't view it. So I could occasionally like or retweet something if it appeared on another website. And YouTube, my previous account was locked out, so I just figured I'll just make another account anyway. And for my current employment, I'm not allowed to use a variety of websites such as Discord. So it was a bit of a double whammy. It's just the certification process of my job that I'm doing at the moment that they asked me to do, which is causing all sorts of
Indonesia or Malaysia, one of those Muslim
like that, yes,
okay.
like that. It's like when you're in Dubai, you've got to use a full VPN, and over there, if you use a full VPN, there's only one internet provider, so they just block you. So if you use a VPN, they just block your entire internet. So, and it's all metered by the government. So be grateful for what you have in terms of your internet, because it can get a lot worse as it is overseas. So with your shared universe, anyway, so the characters are going to be CC 3.0, or probably CC 3.0. Exactly. So that's the plan. But the universe itself, there isn't going to be a Marvel universe as such. It's just going to be a shared world, perhaps.
Yeah.
Which will coalesce out of the different stories.
All based in the PCG.
Right. And I'm saying, like, what would it become if people start creating universes, or that basically, all right, people who put their characters in the CC 3.0 are basically kind of creating a universe in and of itself, that these characters are available to be written by anyone.
Yeah.
Just like if you were writing for Marvel, those characters would be available to be written by you, like, kind of thing. It's like, ideologically, by surrendering your character to the, to be used by other people in derivative works, you are creating a universe. So,
and would that include webcomics?
Yeah.
Even shitty web comics?
Yeah.
Shitty web comics.
The reason I'm asking is just the division between physical print media and computer-based or programs or blah, 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 blah. I think you'd need to maybe consider saying, yeah, it's good for webcomics too, but on the following sites or others by approval, to get around somebody taking your characters to an animation website, which is technically a webcomic site of a kind, but which would allow them to do animations, for example. Unless you don't have a problem with that.
It should be, it definitely, even if you did that, you should be willing to credit the creator.
Yeah.
Sure, but Preston may not want to affect his movie rights.
I think I would allow other people to make animated works of it, sure.
Okay. Because, for example, the Unity engine that I use now for my new animations, there's a lot of visual novels in that.
Right.
So they are technically animated.
Yeah.
Literally.
I think I would allow that. Yeah.
Okay. As long as you're clear on that, I think it's a fantastic idea. In fact, it's a fantastic idea anyway, but I think that would make it more versatile.
Yeah.
And it would allow art set materials to be created.
Imagine if, for instance, like Image had kind of done that, because that was the big problem with Image, or not. But the criticism is these guys never shared the universe because each creator was just kind of creating their own thing.
Except, for example, Big Bang. I did the Big Bang role-playing game.
Yeah.
Big Bang comics, and they were deliberate homage comics that were published under Image at one point. So, for example, they had an Ultraman who's like a blonde Superman, and but relentlessly derivative, deliberately derivative, relentlessly though, to the point where so many people would say, you're not actually parodying anything. You are literally just sort of somehow making like a parallel world, and you're even writing fake letters for it. And I don't know why you're doing that, and I'm getting a bit scared.
Right.
But they crossed over with Savage Dragon.
Yeah.
And that was beautiful. That was so good. That made me more interested in Savage Dragon and Big Bang. So I can see what you're trying to do or intending to do. working really well like that. And I think web comics and the limited animations like Unity engine, low budget animation like the stuff I'm doing now, I think that can work because it can't possibly threaten real movie deals.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
And to get them distributed, animations like that distributed, I can tell you, you have to provide legal clearances from all rights owners. So there's no way anybody legitimate could possibly actually distribute anything on Amazon or anywhere else. They would not be allowed through the distributor process until they got a letter from you saying, no, that's good.
Right.
That's fine. I've given permission. Here's the release. No legal clearance, no distribution. But it would be a way to infuse people and, for example, maybe get visual novels done. All I'm thinking of, I mean, I thought about this a lot while I was away because I was very much isolated from the stuff I normally do as my secondary employment and tertiary employment. So I didn't have the opportunity to do it. I was just drawing a lot of freehand stuff and writing a lot of stuff longhand. And it just kept coming back to me. Web comics, just because things like web comics, motion comics, visual novels haven't really taken off in the English language in the same way in some cases. That doesn't mean they're not going to.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
And to answer your question, Cheyenne, no, I mean, like if somebody's like, if you want to take my character and change the sex on, I mean, look, the more liberal, I mean, first off, in so doing, you're kind of starting to make your own character. So at this point, you're doing me a favor and still referencing me and saying that it's mine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
at that point, as a writer, do you even want to do that? If you're starting to make your own character, you might as well go.
Yeah, if you're starting to make your own character, you should. If you want to let me in on the deal and say the character I just made actually belongs to Preston, I invite you to do so. So there you go.
But we could actually provide the industry standard ways of doing that too in terms of attribution. You could suggest if you're changing the sex, gender, outlook, of a character, it's more appropriate if you say, this is inspired by and partly based on White Lily by Preston Poulter. If you are using it in its normal form, normal appearance, then you should say that you're acknowledging White Lily created by Preston Poulter.
Right.
And so on. It's not difficult. There's only about 5 different professional ways of doing it based on how far away from the original character you move.
Right.
Really.
Okay. Well, there you go.
But I've never seen an open game or a open license movement fail, except when you get it hijacked with a morality clause. That is the only thing I've ever seen kill it. The only thing that I've ever seen kill it. Even the SRD die 20 for role playing for Dungeons and Dragons. The only time it looked like it was going to die was when they brought out that erotic book, like an R-rated book. Which, I mean, there were net books of all of that stuff. And go all the way going back to Judges Guild in 1978, they had one of the original random charts for bust size and penis length and things like that. And I mean, some role-playing games do that with a straight face. It's not always just teen boys messing around. Sometimes that's the level of detail and crunch some people want. But when they brought out that book of whatever it was, Carnal Delights or whatever, that did nearly kill the SRD because it did cause some danger hairs and some chest-beating Christians to sort of, oh no, this is a wholesome thing for 14-year-olds. And I mean, you can't drill down that far into any open license system because, one man's eye gouging is another man's hilarious slapstick moment in a dungeon crawl. So, you're killing.
The Three Stooges would be rated R if they came out today.
But I also think I don't anticipate having too much of a problem because the books I make are pretty, like I wrote it to be. It's all right. It's interesting because when I first started looking at screenplays, I was thinking PG-13 is where I should kind of angle because that's like the biggest audience, right? Kind of thing. But when I translated that to a comic book, like a PG-13 movie rating makes for like a pretty adult-oriented comic book. Like,
you can say fuck once. I don't even know if that would even work the same for rating a comic book. If you say fuck once, you could show ass for like
Yeah.
The 2 seconds or whatever.
Yeah, like one nipple shot, if an F-bomb, it's like you put that in a comic book and people consider that like.
Well, it's because the guys in their 40s to 50s,
right,
like Ethan and the rest of them,
right,
who still maintain this totally false, absolutely fictional mythology about kids reading comics and all this stuff. That just simply hasn't been true for 50 years now.
Right.
Even by the end of the 1960s, the successful paradigm was Marvel, and the successful paradigm was supported by college students.
Yeah.
So those college students were aging up, and for the first time ever, the comics were being continuously read by people as they aged out of childhood. That's the single biggest change. And these guys are clinging to this whole complex mythology about comics have got to be for kids and this, that, and the other. And I mean, it's just not true. Comics are just a physical, artistic medium which has now been adapted electronically. They're really. I mean, Tintin doesn't have sex in it, but it has a hell of a lot of not graphic but direct violence. People getting shot, murdered, tortured in some cases, beaten. So different sensibilities, different ways of portraying it. So does that make Tintin PG-13? That probably not, because there's very rarely, if ever, even bruising, let alone blood in Tintin. There's basically no blood in Tintin, except on a couple of bandages in a couple of old books. But there is slavery, torture, racism, and not just from Hergé. I mean, there's racism in the actual stories, like the slavers, the English slaver taking black Muslims as slaves to Saudi Arabia, and so on and so on and so on. So I mean, that's all PG-13 in terms of adult content, but it's not PG-13 in terms of F-bombs and sex. I just think that American comics have got a special cultural aspect to them that needs to be preserved, or you need to entirely abandon it and internationalize Comicsgate completely, in which case American comics, even though Comicsgate may not be very significant at the moment in the grand scheme, it would rapidly become so, because that would allow people of every political spectrum in America, every part of it, to say, well, you know what, my graphic sex lesbian gangster story set on the Texas border, that's Comicsgate. That's Comicsgate. Okay?
Right.
So my very left-wing politics and my fairly graphic sex scenes, close-ups of oral sex and stuff, all of that stuff is Comicsgate, because I am on time, I've never doxed anybody, I haven't committed any criminal acts, and I don't bully my readers. So I'm Comicsgate.
Yeah, exactly.
And you see, to me, personally, I wouldn't have a problem with that, but I could understand the way a lot of Americans would say, well, no, Comicsgate was about saving comics, ! 1!1! And that means 1960s comics like Jack Kirby did.
Yeah.
Well,
and I'm saying, no, comics books means it needs to adapt to the Game of Thrones audience.
I think so.
Yeah.
Because all these things like Game of Thrones are basically ripping off American comics a lot, and then just adding some sex and gore.
Yeah. Because quite frankly, I think there's so much media that is available and done so well. If you're the type of person who wants to really fucking read the 1960s Superman and just enjoy it as like the golden age of Spider-Man and all that jazz, then movies are awesome, aren't they?
Yeah.
Right? Could you just sit and watch Marvel movies just on repeat over and over again, and Star Wars?
Well, the people who want to go back to that sort of physical comic really don't understand. That's where their audience has gone.
Right. Yeah. So I don't want to compete with those stories. I want to compete.
Couldn't.
Yeah, you
can't.
can't.
I mean, the budget put behind those stories is in the billions.
Yeah.
So how any of us could.
Right. So instead,
possible.
I want to take the advantage that is available to the comic creator, and that's to tell a huge, grand story for a cheap production cost. You can't do that in movies, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So we can take chances on what is too big a grand scale movie, right? So you're never going to see like a big grand scale $150 million movie with like a graphic sex scene in it, most likely.
Yeah.
But you could do that just as easily in a comic book because the artists don't charge by set design for how expensive.
And another aspect of the same thing is the Napalm Brothers,
right?
Because that extremely distinctive form of ghetto art in that
yes
is impossible to recreate in live action film, and it always will be. It doesn't matter how good the different compositional elements of the production are. It's the actual style of the caricatures. The closest would be like a Ralph Bakshi animated film, and that's really just animating the same art. That's not a true transliteration or translation process to cinema. That's really just animating it.
Right.
It's just a very expensive motion comic, really. So things like Napalm Brothers, The Sex, huge budget set piece battles. I mean, like if White Lily had one of the set piece battles in it with all tanks, recoilless artillery, hundreds of planes, although they didn't have hundreds of planes, but say scores of planes at once.
Right.
It would be very, very difficult to do that convincingly.
Even just one airplane. You either have to go and find somebody who's restored the original, or else it's CG, and all that is going to cost more than the budget of one comic book.
And the temptation in movies, of course, and not just a temptation, the production cost justification is, I've just paid a tenth of the budget for these fucking CG objects. I want to see plenty of them in the last third of the film.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I get that, it's a CG plane. We don't have to see all of it because then people don't realize that it's a digital plane. I couldn't give a damn about that. We just paid a fortune. I want to see that plane a lot. I want to see it loop the loop. I want to see it fly under a bridge. I want to see it do this. I want to see it do that. And then the whole story is distorted by it, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think I think we have a lot of opportunities here in terms of competing with film, which is what we are.
Don't even necessarily have to compete with film because this is a market that's untapped.
Sure. Yeah, I suppose so.
And people are screaming out for material. They're finding their material, whether people want them to or not. They're going to webcomics. They're going to what was it, Machinima or not Machinima? But fuck.
Oh, there was for a while. I mean, but the thing, I think the problem with Machinima was there wasn't another successor program that came out with updated graphics, and then you've got Unity. So now people are using Unity or Unreal Engine for what used to be Machinima, and because there are now whole programs that you load into Unity, you end up, you don't really need to hack The Sims or something to make your Machinima anymore. Now you are really just doing animation. It's just part of animation. So the interesting thing will be to see how well you can go back from 3D render back to 2D comics, because that used to look terrible, but now maybe not, because you can do a line drawing effect for your 3D animation.
Well, for me, I mean, because I hate comics. I already hate comic books, and I hate comics. If you want to wrap
this conversation up in 5 minutes, just so you know.
Okay, yeah.
5 minute warning.
I'm just saying.
I hate comics. That's why I want to write and draw them.
Well, the thing is, it's an untapped medium. Also, like I also said, how do you get people like me into it who don't normally read comics? That's what you should be doing, because especially after the crash, there's so many people who are just reading other stuff. They're going and they're reading Harry Potter and shit like that. The Twilight series. Why do you think the Twilight series sold so well? Other than that women have shit taste. It's because there's no comics to read. The point is, you can't. There's so much. Webcomics, they exploded in popularity because it's an untapped medium, and instead of the regular big, the big two saying, "Hey, we need to adapt." And so they just accepted that nobody is going to be reading their material anymore, and they'll just keep putting it out anyway. Seems
that diamond distribution default thing where there's no new comics this week sort of thing. It wasn't a big impact on anybody really, apart from the usual suspects. Nobody really cared. It just shows you how few people read American comics anymore. Even the big ones like Batman. It's just like, oh well, maybe it's for the best.
Those stories are played out though too. I mean, that's the
So
thing.
that's it. It's not like, oh my god, I can't wait to find out what happens on the 108th occasion the Joker and Batman swap places. I wonder what's going to happen. It's like nobody's on the edge of their seat waiting for it, are they? So
The Joker escaped from prison again. Oh man, he escaped
Joker
from Arkham
stole
again.
money from the bank, and since it was insured for $100,000 for every person, no one really cared because they got their money back.
Yeah, it's.
I think Preston's come along with his real Comicsgate at exactly the right time. And the single biggest nightmare, other than the registration of this trademark by somebody who's actually going to make real use of it, is the fact that there are already people, quite different people, who want to use it, who want to work together, even if they don't like each other, to use it.
It's a great idea. Comicsgate. This Comicsgate thing is a really brilliant move.
Well, it's inspiring people. That's how you know it's a great idea. It's actually inspiring people. People are actually talking about it, saying, you know what, I think I'll do that. I think I'll do that. Rather than this kind of, I just don't like Ethan enough to kiss his ass to get my book done, so I guess I just won't bother. Because there was this whole defeatist thing that came along with the way they were trying to control the narrative. So how big a thing is this Cecil Anna Dynamite cover thing, really? I missed all that. Was that a real thing, or is that...
That is absolutely a real thing.
It's a really big
$30,000.
thing.
Yeah, that is a big thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I always thought she'd make a play to take it over because she's a Findham simp farmer. So any Findham girl, they always want to scale up because Findham is very scalable because it's just people giving them money for literally nothing. I was just surprised that it seems to be over a Dynamite cover, which it's just damned odd to me. I've missed most of it, but it just seems. If I was anybody in the war campaign type fake Comicsgate, I'd be very worried about that because they're never going to beat a pretty girl. They're never going to beat a pretty girl.
A lot of them were against the Anna cover. It's been a huge faction, but
yeah,
were they against it on quality grounds, pretending, or were they?
Yes, they were against it on quality grounds.
Well, that's actually valid, but up to a point. But then I look at some of their stuff and I'm thinking, well,
The really weird fuck you though was Rowe bashed it on quality grounds and starts this damn civil war between the Jack show. So you had John
Rowe did.
Yeah, Rowe did.
Mm-hmm. He's the guy who kicked it off.
Yes.
Yeah,
so Rowe kicked it off, and then
whoever these
Cecil and Malin came in defending her.
Yeah. And then the very next week, he had on Martina Marcota, whose book is like a year and a half late and isn't even
the stripper.
It just lost Matt Weldon too.
Yeah. So
Yeah, he walked
the
off.
Stripper.
Yeah, the stripper.
So the actual stripper.
Right.
The tits out for the lad stripper.
Yeah.
Who hasn't done a book.
Right.
Versus the woman who at least has done a cover, although I don't think it's professional quality.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So the cover that Dynamite is prepared to publish under some vanity press thing, presumably, that's bad.
Yes.
But a stripper literally simping fedora tippers is what? Like war campaigns backing her campaign? Or
Yeah. He calls her mommy.
Yeah.
He calls her what?
It's gross.
Oh,
mommy.
Jesus Christ, no. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Jesus bless Chatter.
So what does Tug's wife think of that? Because she was the camp follower for War Campaign.
No.
So how does that work?
Well, that is what I call an upgrade. If I'm in War Campaign, I'm way happier. I'm hail Rowe.
No. She's fine as a stripper.
Yeah.
But she's a stripper.
Yeah.
So let's not pretend she's not a stripper. I mean, I support single moms all the time. I'm fine with strippers, but she's a stripper. So
she has special blood.
They've what?
She has special blood.
What? What do you mean?
Blood?
Yes. Yeah.
RH negative or something.
RH negative blood, which there's a belief out there that
God give me strength.
You know, they're
it
like
makes she's some sort of fairy.
It's some new age belief bullshit, you know.
It is very much so. Quite
and that is the specific topic of her comic book. it's about her. And
But hang on, the comic book doesn't exist at all, does it?
No.
No,
Right.
just lost your second artist.
Yeah. So the comic book doesn't exist and won't exist.
No, but as a simple matter of fact, it doesn't exist.
Right. Yes.
Right.
And the Anna cover actually exists.
Yes. The Anna cover actually exists, is going to be made and shipped.
And there's a third party, Dynamite, who people have actually heard of.
Yeah, exactly.
And they've thrown their lot in with Anna.
Yes.
So I would have thought that's the end of that battle, isn't it? Really?
One would think.
No.
Because the debate went on to whether or not Anna is CG.
Yeah.
No. Well, she obviously is, because she's on Cecil's show all the time.
Well, she's obviously not, because I haven't certified her.
She's not in the
Is there going to be a different certification process for the 20-somethings and early 30-something women, Preston?
Oh, absolutely.
No nodding.
Yeah. Wait, you took $40,000 and never put a book out 2 years later? Certified, no problem.
I saw your titties on Vimeo. You're certified.
Yeah.
Well, I represent them. Yeah, they are spectacular.
They are spectacular. All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. This was I think I like this format. We're gonna do this from now on.
I like this format. We never finished the review of my comic.
That's okay, because you never finished the fucking script. All right, finish.
Yeah, exactly.
I gotta go finish.
It's got exactly the amount of review the level of script deserves.
Perfect. You know, this is only going to encourage me to do more of that.
So,
More unfinished scripts. No need to criticize them because they're not finished. There's not enough to criticize.
All right. So thanks very much for tuning in, everybody, and I'll see you next week. Take care.
Okay.
Bye bye.